Also known as. Very good, very good. ATM.
Automatic machine.
Gabriel, ¿estás ahí?
Automatic machine.
Very good. Automated teller machine. Yes. FYI.
For your information.
Very good. ECG. Electrocardiogram. Very good. FAQ.
Frequently asked questions.
Very good. TGIF. Very good. And BLT.
Bacon, lettuce, and
Tomato. Yes, very good. Animals. Nutria.
Otter.
Yes. Mapache.
Raccoon.
Yes. Morsa. Yes. Babosa.
Slack.
Very good. Libélula. Dragonfly. Very good. Erizo. Hedgehog. Very good. Periquito. Parakeet. Very good. Mantis religiosa. Praying mantis. Very good. Saltamontes.
Grasshopper.
Very good. Y jabalí.
Wild boar.
Very good. Chapucera. Sloppy. Very good. Patosa.
Clumsy.
Very good. Engreído o engreída. Big-headed. Very good. Desconsiderado.
Thoughtless.
Very good. Detestable. Juan.
Obnoxious.
Very good. Aburrido o aburrida. Soso o sosa. Dull. Very good. Consentido o consentida. Fernando. Spoiled. Very good. Caprichoso o caprichosa. Whimsical. Very good. Gruñón o gruñona. Grumpy. And quejica. Mamen.
Whinger.
Very good. Do we have time for another one? I think we do. Very quickly.
How do you say empollón in English?
You would say geek.
Mine is a geek.
Quickly. This is number 13. How do you say roble? Oak. Very good. Sauce.
Willow.
Very good. Olmo. Good. Abeto.
Tear.
Very good. Castaño. Chestnut tree. Very good. Nogal.
Walnut tree.
Very good. Álamo.
Poplar.
Very good. Arce.
Arce is maple.
Maple tree. Very good. Haya.
Hake.
No, beach.
Very good. Beach. And the last one, cerezo.
Cherry tree.
All right, very good. So up to list number 13, I expect you to know everything. And the last one was our Twitter question. I wanted to know how you say unrasca. Unrasca in English. So how do you say unrasca in English? 1, 2, 3. Scratch card. To scratch es rascar. And a scratch card es el típico rasca de la 11 o del Ryanair que se suele comprar Gabriel or stuff like that. He bought it once. Alright, scratch card is the one I wanted. That's how you say unrasca in English. And the only thing I want to check is whether you spell it in 2 words or one. It's 2 words. Scratch card, 2 words. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for learning with us. Thank you guys out there for listening and learning with us. Have a fantastic afternoon and evening and weekend. See you next week. Same time, same place. Bye-bye.
¿Por qué se decidió Vaughan a la hora de apuntar a sus hijos a clases de inglés?
Llevo 5 años viniendo, vengo contenta yo, contentos ellos y aprenden un montón de inglés con vosotros. Vienen muy contentos a clase, aprenden un montón en clase y salen más contentos después de haber jugado y dispuestos a hacer los deberes, muchas veces antes que los del colegio.
¿Ha notado una evolución en el inglés de sus hijos?
Y los deberes los hacen en inglés, eso sí es verdad. Que te cuentan las cosas, te preguntan en inglés, que van adquiriendo fluidez, ¿sabes? Y se expresan bien en inglés. Sí hemos notado evolución. Al venir del campamento nos lo pasábamos muy bien, porque la mañana se la había pasado bien él y luego nos la contaba. Entonces, muchas veces no sabía decir las cosas en castellano. Y era divertido. Y el caso es que después hacíamos jugando las manualidades y es verdad, las palabras, si por ejemplo traía una jirafa, el cuello, la cabeza, sabía todas las partes del animal del cuerpo humano y luego quedaban adornando en la habitación. La verdad es que muy bien, se lo pasó muy bien.
¿Tienen sus hijos más interés por el inglés?
Sí, lo sienten ellos. Pero nosotros en casa no hablamos inglés entre nosotros y tampoco te ponemos la televisión en inglés. Pero sí que es verdad, cuando hacemos los deberes los hacen en inglés, nos preguntan cosas en inglés. Cuando salen de aquí, salen muy motivados a hablar inglés, porque a veces en el coche va contándome cosas y me las va contando en inglés, el mayor y tal. Y sí que es verdad que salen motivados, pero claro, nosotros ayudamos.
¿Recomendaría Vaughan?
Sí, bueno, como he dicho, tengo a mis 2 hijos aquí, vienen contentos, se van contentos, están en casa y eso hace que aprendan un montón de cosas y sean muy proactivos a hablarlas como si fuera algo natural y de manera muy simple, lo hacen fácil. Vinimos a Vaughan porque nos gustaba la forma de aprender de manera las cosas del día a día de forma fácil. Entonces nos parecía que iban, bueno, nos gustaba, nos vinimos a interesar por el método, nos gustó cómo nos lo explicaron, nos trataron de manera personal cada vez que nos dirigíamos vía email, vía teléfono, venir aquí presencial. Nunca nos dijeron ahora no puedo, y sabían perfectamente quiénes éramos, por quién preguntábamos, por los niños, por David, y pues vinimos por eso un poco. Ahora hemos seguido durante todos estos años porque realmente ellos se sienten fenomenal, vienen muy contentos, están muy contentos y la sensación es que les importa los niños y que aprendan los niños.
¿Qué es lo que más te gusta de las clases?
Pues que son muy divertidas y cuando tú no entiendes algo, los profesores te lo siguen explicando hasta que lo entiendes.
¿Cuál es tu actividad favorita?
Los juegos en inglés, como adivinar una carta que falta, que contiene un verbo que acabamos de aprender, pues las manualidades que íbamos haciendo paso a paso y que nos iban diciendo cómo se decía doblar, cómo se decía cortar, nos iban diciendo muchas cosas.
Toda la información de Vaughan Jr. en el teléfono 911335832. 911335832.
You're listening to Vaughan Radio. You want to improve your English? You're listening to the right radio. You're listening to Vaughan Radio.
Esta es La Hora Extra con Richar Vaughan.
Welcome to the Extra Hour. Okay, we're back together. I think today's Friday. I think it's Friday. Friday the what? You know, I'm losing track of time. I'm losing track of the dates. I know that today's Thursday. To tell you the truth, I'm going to let you into a secret. Would you like to know a secret? Do you like secrets? Okay. It's 3 minutes past 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's Thursday afternoon. I'm driving to Pamplona tomorrow, and I'm driving back on the same day. Can you believe it? 4 hours going. I'm going to spend 8 hours in my car tomorrow. So I would recommend that you look at the esquelas and the obituaries on Saturday and Sunday to see if you see me. Yeah, I really recommend you check the obituaries in the local newspaper or in the Madrid newspapers, the El País, El Mundo. I don't know, because I imagine if I die that there will be some type of obituary or article. El famoso Vaughan ese, pues, dies in a traffic accident on the way to Pamplona or on the way back from Pamplona. But I'm going up there tomorrow because I want to have lunch with some good friends. And it's the only possibility we have. Some people who worked in the previous government, in the consejerías, in the dos consejeros, to tell you the truth, which means it's like 2 ministers of the government. Although they don't use the word minister. Ministro is for the state government of Spain, Ministro de Hacienda, Ministro de Economía, etc. And at the regional level is Consejero de Educación, del Consejería de Educación y Cultura, etc. y Deporte. Fine. But I'm going to have lunch with two people who used to work in the previous administration. Now the Abertzales control a little bit the government in Navarre. The previous government with Yolanda Barcina. I got to know two of them. Very, very nice people. Very pleasant. I enjoyed dealing with them and doing business with them. But basically, we were not doing business. We were simply trying to improve the English level in Navarre. Very interesting region because it was under French. It was part of the Kingdom of France for a while. Aquitaine, Navarre itself, Reino de Navarra. Very interesting history. The history of Navarre. Carlos de Viana, very important in Navarre. In Orite, he spent time. I like Navarre. Tafalla, Tudela, Orite, Pamplona, of course. And even the Basque area in the north is very, very nice. And the area of Elizondo, the area of, my God, the Bidasoa area. And then you have the Valle de Roncal, you have the Roncesvalles, which is very, very important in history. That's the Song of Roland. Yeah. Orlando il Furioso. Okay. Which is also the same thing as Roland. Our good friend Carlomagno, Charlemagne, passed through there on his way to Zaragoza to try to defeat the Moors who were in charge in Zaragoza. He decided not to fight. I think he turned around and went back. He said, no, this is too much. I don't have such a predilection for Zaragoza, Zaragoza. I'm going to go back. And he turned around and went back. But he had so many soldiers with him when they were crossing back through the Roncesvalles. The rear guard of his troops were attacked and killed. And including Roland, Orlando. Yeah. And a very sad story. And the Song of Roland is love. It's a classic of medieval literature. The Song of Roland, the Italian version of Orlando il Furioso. Interesting story. And most people believe, people who are not familiar, really, who don't spend the time to look into this moment in history, believe that the Moors, the Moros, sabes, they killed these Musulmanes, the Muslims, attacked the rear guard, la retaguardia, the rear guard of the troops, of the French, of Charlemagne's, Carlomagno, of Charlemagne's troops going back. But it wasn't true. It was the Basques, los Vascones, who did it. And they were very tough people. And they probably rightfully said, you don't come into our lands and do things and get away with it. You can't just come in, destroy things, kill cows, kill sheep, kill pigs, kill people sometimes, and then turn around and just happily go back. You're going to receive, you're going to pay a price for this. You can't come into our territory for free and take advantage of us for free and then happily return to your homes and to your wives and children and your suppers. You took away some of our wives and children and our pigs and our cows and our livelihood. So you're going to receive a bit of a punishment for that. So maybe it was right that the Basques did that. Interesting people, the Basque. I love that area of Navarre, the north. I love Guipúzcoa, I love Vizcaya. I love it. I don't like the radical side of them. I can understand people's desire to be free, what they consider free. I mean, you have to define the word freedom, okay? But nevertheless, I can understand. I can put myself in their position. But when you start killing people and start becoming a terrorist, you lose your right to, I can understand your position, but you've lost you lost your argument if you start using those means towards your end. I can understand, even sympathize with the end, but if the means are too radical, well, you lost your argument. And so, I don't know, but that's not only for the Basque people, it's for all kinds of people. I mean, even the Americans, you know, certain moments during the years just before the Revolutionary War, they didn't treat the British occupiers very well, but the British were occupiers. And they were occupying areas, and it's a long story. Nobody can throw the first stone, Niño, not even me, can throw the first stone, so it's better for me not to talk about it. The only thing I know is that I really like the area of all of Navarre, the Castilian area, the Aragonese area, near Sos del Rey Católico, in that area, which is part of Zaragoza, but very, very close to the border with Navarre. And then I like the Basque area in the north, especially. First of all, it's beautiful. The food is just out of this world. The people are fun, interesting people. And you hear Basque more than you hear Spanish. If you go to a restaurant in one of the smaller towns, the people sitting around that table, first of all, they have money. They're pretty well off. Second, they speak Basque around those tables. It's surprising. You think, oh, well, the people speak Basque in the villages and the families. My God, I hear Basque everywhere in the north of Navarre. I even hear, it's interesting when you go to Valencia, I hear more Valenciano than I hear Castilian. I remember the last time I was in Alicante. In fact, I wasn't in Alicante, I was down in Elche, which is further south. They were using Valencian more than Castilian. And so, but in any case, that area of the Bidasoa area is very nice, Elizondo, and other places in the north. Not too far from Guipúzcoa, from Irún, from the border, with the French border. Very nice. And I'm going there tomorrow, but not to Elizondo. I'm going to Pamplona itself. Pamplona is named after the Roman General Pompey, or Pompeyo, who spent quite a bit of time. He spent maybe 2 years in Spain trying to defeat another Roman general by the name of Sertorius, who was I guess he was in charge of the Iberian Peninsula, or at least the Hispania Citerior, or maybe the Hispania Ulterior. I don't know, there were two Hispanias. The Iberian Peninsula at that time, here I'm going back to the year about 65 BC, 70 BC maybe, I don't know when. I think around 70 BC, but I'm not sure. I would have to look up Sertorius. Sertorius, I would say 7, he died around I'm going to make a guess, 68 BC. 68 BC. Nope, he died in 72. Y dice que murió en Huesca, ¿qué va? He didn't die in Huesca. Sertorius died in Pompelo, which is now Pamplona. He didn't die in Huesca. It's a mistake. Yes. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe I'm wrong. Can you believe it? Me wrong? I don't know. All right, the Sertorian War. All right. Okay, let me see if I can find it. If I can find when he died. He died in 72 BC. Let's see, where did he die? It doesn't say. Las tribus Lusitanas, the Lusitanian Empire. He was assassinated by Marcus Perpenavento at a banquet. All right, but where? Where was the banquete? Where was the banquet? It doesn't say. It doesn't say. All right. I'll have to look up the word Pamplona, and it will tell me if I look up the word Pamplona. Pamplona, Pamplona, we can find out the origin of the name Pamplona. All right, Pamplona. Toponia, is that the right word for it? All right, Pamplona. Se deriva de Pampelón. All right. Nombre latino difundido en tiempos de la antigua Roma por autores clásicos. All right. Es decir, la ciudad de Pompeyo, en alusión al nombre del linaje del general romano Cneo Pompeyo Magno. Okay. So it does come from Pompeyo. But I don't know if Sertorius was killed in what is now Pamplona, or in West Guys was one of the web pages I'm looking at says, don't know, and it really doesn't matter. The only thing important to know about Pamplona, well, there are many things about Pamplona, about Pompeyo and his connection with Pamplona, is learn your lesson if you're going to be a rebel, if you're going to rebel against Rome, or a similar center of power like Rome. Make sure you're very, very strong, because in 2 or 3 years, you're dead. And so, learn your lesson, study history. Sertorio, is a very interesting guy. To tell you the truth, a very interesting guy, Sertorius. Quinto Sertorio. It's hard for me to speak Spanish now. And he's a very interesting guy. If you study his life, you can learn a lot. But he made a mistake at the end. Rome was involved in a civil war. And so, apparently, in appearance, Rome was weak. And Sertorius was the guy in charge of Hispania, the Iberian Peninsula. And in view, his opinion was that Rome was weak. And so he was in the perfect position to decide to claim the throne of Spain or Hispania and say, okay, we will break from Rome. But what he didn't understand, apparently, was that Rome already had 350 or 400 years of a heritage of strength. The fact that Rome was temporarily weak because of a civil war in Italy didn't mean that Rome was weak. Rome was very strong. Don't underestimate the strength of many, many years of power, of the consolidation of strength. People make that mistake in companies. They think, the Vaughan now, they're having trouble this year. I'll take advantage of this. Yeah, don't worry, I'll take away one of their clients for myself. Well, it doesn't usually work, because the client comes back 1 year later to Vaughan, and that teacher who decided he was a listillo, that he was smarter than the rest, ends up unemployed or his life is just not the same. The life of a person who's a listillo ends up being a very poor and a very dark, opaque life, usually. And so don't underestimate strength. Strength is not a question of right now. Strength is a question of something that's developed over decades, generations. In the case of Rome, over a question of 700 years. We say in English, Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. All right. In Spanish, you have an equivalent expression, Zamora no se ganó en una hora. Okay, which means it takes time to do important things, and Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome was built between the year basically around 500 BC up to about 100 BC, 400 years. By the time Gaius Marius, or Marius the Great, became consul, 7 times he was the consul of Rome. And by that time the Roman Republic was very strong, extremely strong. And it continued to be strong for another 200 years after that, so 600 years. When they talk about the decline, the rise and fall of Rome, el auge y el declive de Roma, we're talking of 780 years, basically. It's a long time. That's a long, long time. Can you find a longer empire Of course, Rome didn't really become an empire. The Roman Republic could be considered a Roman empire around the year 200 BC, after Scipio defeated Hannibal and destroyed the Carthaginian influence. And so Rome converted the Mediterranean into the El Mare Nostrum, Nuestro Mar. And so that's, you could say, from 200 BC. But the official fall of Rome was in 475 AD. So you need to add 475, 675 years. 700 years. Let's look at a round figure, 700 years. How many empires have lasted 700 years? The Spanish Empire? No. The Spanish Empire started, let's say, in 1492. All right, or 1500. Once Christopher Columbus and his followers clearly established that there was a new world. Then Spain united in 1492. Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabel of Castile joined to create Castilla, or to España, to create Spain. Although it wasn't called España, still, it wasn't called that. That came later. The word España, I think, officially started being used under Philip V and the Primer Bourbon in the first decades of the 18th century. I'm not sure about the word España como nombre oficial de este espacio físico-geográfico. I think the official title España began in the 18th century, much later than people think. I don't know what they called it before. Maybe they said España, but it wasn't the official name. El Reino de Castilla y Aragón, or El Reino de España, El Reino Español, I don't know what they called it. I think. I'm not completely sure about that, but I think I remember reading that a long time ago. But again, the Roman Empire lasted 700 years as an empire. Of course, Rome lasted 800 or 900 years if you go back to the kings. If you go back to Romulus and Remus, we're talking about 900 years. And the Roman Empire in the East lasted until the year 1500. Really. Constantinople was the eastern center, the eastern continuation of the Roman Empire. But that's a story for another day, and it depends on what you consider Rome as an empire. But the Spanish Empire from the year 1500 to the year 1650 or 1660 under Philip IV, the Habsburg, the next to last king of the House of Austria. So you can say the Spanish Empire, as an empire, powerful, strong, and for 150 years or 200 years maximum. The British Empire really began, I would say, around the year 1660, with the defeat of the Dutch by the British fleet. After the Dutch won independence from Spain, really. After the Dutch managed to get free from Spain, the Dutch started becoming quite strong. And it was not clear who would be the masters of the seas, and the British defeated the Dutch in a series of sea battles in the second half of the 17th century. And so the British Empire, could say, started around 1670. Although really it started around 1750 with the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. But nevertheless, let's say 1617, it lasted until 1914 with the beginning of the First World War. So from 1670, 1770, 1870, it lasted 260 years. The British Empire, 260 years. The Khaganate, Genghis Khan, and his empire lasted 3 generations. It lasted about 150 years maximum. Genghis Khan, and his empire. Empires How long did they last? French Empire? It lasted for 14 years. Or 12 years, from 1803, when Napoleon crowned himself emperor, and crowned Josephine himself as empress, until 1815, about 13 years later. Short empire. Yeah, empires. But the Roman Empire lasted a long, long, long time. And so it was very strong. Don't underestimate the strength of empires. Don't underestimate the strength of kings. Don't underestimate the strength of general managers or chairmen. Don't underestimate the strength of a big company or a company that's been operating for many, many years successfully. It's a sign of myopia, short-sightedness, myopia. It's a sign of myopia or short-sightedness, or it's a sign of excessive pride. Excessive pride means soberbia. Ceguera, you're blind, you can't see. And so it doesn't make mistakes. I've seen many teachers in over 44 years of teaching. I've seen at least one teacher every 2 years think that he or she, but usually usually it's a male. He thinks he's God's gift to his students. He thinks that he's much better than anybody. Better than me, better than my people, better than my company, etc. And he goes independent and steals a client. And within 2 years, he's lost the client. Because he can't manage it properly. He doesn't have the other skills and abilities that are necessary for success. And that happens. And what the problem is, he just doesn't have humility. Humility is the secret. It's the key. Humility, being able to analyze yourself, being able to measure situations, being quiet and not too loud, convincing people, of course, conviction. You convince, you're a good communicator, but you need to measure the distances. You need to know how to measure the distances, otherwise te estrellas. If you're going to pass a car, overtake a car, and there's a car coming in the opposite direction, if you have good sense of measurement, you know. You know the situation. You know if you have enough time to overtake the other car before the car coming in the opposite direction runs into you or hits you. You know how to measure, but some people don't. Measure situations. La capacidad para medir las realidades y las situaciones. A lot of people don't have that ability. I need to take a break in a few seconds, so I don't have time to pursue this subject, but I remember an interesting anecdote about measuring. When I had to renew my driver's license, the last 2 times, over the last 20 years, twice I've had to do it. And the same thing happened. I'll be back.
You're listening to Vaughan Radio. Do you want to improve your English? You're listening to the right radio. You're listening to Vaughan Radio.
Vamos a eliminar en una sola semana años de miedo escénico, años del sentido del ridículo, años de barreras psicológicas, en un lugar donde escuchará y hablará solo en inglés, haciéndole hablar y oír 50.000 frases en inglés, con gente de lo más variopinta, gente voluntaria que cruza océanos para obligarle a hablar y a escuchar solo en inglés, gente que quiere conocer España a través de un grupo como tú, deseosos de mejorar su inglés, porque una estancia en Vaughan Town equivale a 3 meses viviendo y trabajando en cualquier ciudad de la geografía anglosajona, el mayor ambiente lingüístico jamás creado, con la mayor variedad de acentos nativos nunca antes reunidos. Vaughan Town, El pueblo anglo de Vaughan, Vaughan Town. Rechaza imitaciones. Infórmate en el 911-335833. 911-335833.
I'm 100% Spanish. I began learning English when I was about 10, and I just fell in love with it, with language. I can't remember a time when I didn't speak English, and that's what I like about it so much.
Be like Elena. Be like them.
I like it.
Descubre más en grupobaugan.com.
Okay, Luis, let's begin your level test. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Where will you be tomorrow at this time?
Tomorrow I will be in class.
Repeat it.
Tomorrow I will be in class.
Tomorrow I'll be in class. I'll be in class. Very
En poco
good.
más de media hora y de forma totalmente gratuita, este alumno sabrá exactamente cuál es su nivel de inglés. ¿Y tú todavía no sabes qué nivel de inglés ponerte en el currículo? Si estás pensando en hacer uno de los másters en inglés profesional de Vaughan, te invitamos a una prueba de nivel gratuita para que lo tengas mucho más claro y sin ningún tipo de compromiso. Infórmate ya en el 911-335833. Además, ahora financiate hasta el 100% del coste y págalo cómodamente hasta en 24 meses. Puedes ver las condiciones de financiación en el apartado de máster en grupobaugan.com.
You are listening to Everyday. Listen to Vaughan Radio. You're listening to Vaughan Radio.
Tune in every day.
Vaughan Radio.
Porque no todos pueden decir que llevan más de 40 años de experiencia formando a la mayor parte de los directivos, empresarios, trabajadores de este país. Presumimos, pero es que es cierto. Trabajamos con los mejores docentes. Tu profesor está aquí. Infórmate en el 911-335833. 911-335833. En Vaughan buscamos soluciones. Vaughan & Company. Rentabilidad, dinamismo, resultados.
Vaughan y Disney presentan
Disney English Vaughan.
la magia de Disney en sus clases de inglés.
Ahora en Vaughan tus peques pueden aprender inglés con sus personajes favoritos Disney en un entorno creativo y lleno de diversión y aventura.
Historias interactivas, canciones, juegos y mucho más.
Con Disney English Vaughan aprenderán inglés sin darse cuenta de la mano de los mejores profesores.
Con Disney English y Vaughan llegarán hasta el infinito y más allá.
Disney English Vaughan está disponible en varias ciudades de España.
Para niños y niñas de 4 a 9 años.
Búscalo en grupobaugan.com y apúntalos ya.
La hora extra con Richar Vaughan.
Welcome back. I remember 20 years ago, well, not 20, about 22 years ago, and 18 years, about 12 years, 12 years ago and 2 years ago. Those are the two occasions, the two most recent occasions in which I had to renew my driver's license in Spain. And in both cases, I had to perform a few tests, physical, basically, tests. And I remember one of them, in which you see a ball moving, and then the ball goes under, as if it's in a tunnel and you can't see it. And you need to calculate when the ball will come out of the tunnel. And so you need to push a button when it's about the moment the ball will come. In both cases, 12 years ago and 2 years ago, the examiner said, "You did it perfectly. It's supposed to do better. You measure perfectly the time. How did you do that?" I said, "I don't know. Just the feeling." And I often see this when I'm driving my car. I see a car coming, and I think I usually have a perfect gauge of the time I have to pull out in front of the car and be safe. And so that's measuring distances when another car is in movement. It's measuring situations. And in life you have to measure situations. And if you don't have humility, you don't know how to measure situations, and you make mistakes. Sertorius, Quinto Sertorio, the Roman politician and general, he didn't measure correctly. I'm surprised because he was a very intelligent man. He thought he could take control of Hispania, and the Romans would not be able to do anything. And he made a big mistake, and he lost his life. He was killed. And because of this, and many people in history books are full of people who don't measure things right because they don't have enough humility. When you encounter somebody or an entity or a person who is strong, well, they're strong for a reason. Don't underestimate their strength. They have reached a certain position, usually, not always, but usually because of strength and because of an honest ability to win. And so don't underestimate these people, even if they're going through a hard time. Rome, in the year 70 BC, was going through a difficult time. Rome was involved in a civil war. And Sertorius thought that he could take advantage of this and become the lord and master of Hispania, un señor de la península ibérica, in tiempos antes de Cristo, tiempos romanos, 70 years before. And he made a big mistake because Rome, even though Rome was distracted by a civil war and apparently weak, Rome was Rome, and Rome was extraordinarily strong. They just needed to solve the civil war and then to turn their attention to Hispania and to Sertorius. And that was the end of Sertorius. In a question of 2 more years, he was dead. But in any case, it's very interesting. The Roman history of Spain, Hispania, with Betica in the south, Lusitania, Tarraco, Barcino, which is Barcelona, Pompelo, which is Pamplona, Cesar Augusto, which is Zaragoza, Emerito Augusto, which is Mérida. There's so many. Corduba, which is Cordoba, Toletum, which is Toledo. And so there's so many different, the history of Spain in Roman times is fascinating. And you don't realize that Spain, most of Spain was under Roman rule, most of Spain, for about 450 years. That's a long time. Can you imagine? Let's go back 450 years from now. We're in 2018. Let's go back 400 years. From 2018, that's 1618. And go back another 50 years, well, that's 1578, right? 1578, Felipe II, Segundo Habsburgo. Philip II. Imagine the same empire, or the same rulers from Philip II until today. That's how long Spain was under Rome. And so you can imagine the influence that Roman culture had. Some of Spain even longer, a little bit of Spain less. The area of Cantabria and part of Asturias didn't become Romanized, didn't fall under the control of Rome until around 10 AD. When Jesus of Nazareth was 10 years old, I think was around the time that Cantabria and part of Asturias finally fell to the Romans. Augustus had to come to Spain to oversee the final taking. That's the only time Cesar Augusto came actually to Spain. And he lived in a little town in Burgos. I can't remember the name of the town. I've spoken about with my good friend Juan Soto, who wrote a book called Una Muerte Anunciada, Oh, what was the name of it? The name of it was La Mano del Verdugo by Juan Soto. Recommendable book, by the way. Very, very good book. But part of it takes place in the little village where Augustus Caesar lived for about 6 months or something to oversee the final taking of Cantabria and the definitive control of the Iberian Peninsula. And I can't remember the name of the town. Yeah. I mean, I can find it if I go back. I can find it. Agosto. En España. Burgos. I can find the name of the town. I think. Okay. Agosto en España. Okay. Derrota de Cantabria. And I can find the name of the town. If I can find it. Las Guerras Cántabras. Here we go. All right. Astur Cántabras. Las Guerras Astur Cántabras. Yeah. And Caesar Augustus came to Spain, and he lived for a few months or a year in a town in Burgos whose name I can't find. I guess I won't be able to find it. But still, the Roman history of still means aún así. The history of Rome is in Hispania, in the Iberian Peninsula, very, very interesting. And Spain became more, como siempre, más papista del Papa. Spain has always been that way. Once Spain embraces an idea, or embraces a reality, embraces a status quo, that Spain becomes the strongest defender of that idea or that status quo. For Rome, for the Vatican, Catholicism, the más papista que el Papa, is a very common expression, and the Spanish bishops and archbishops are usually more fanatical and more Roman Catholic than the Pope himself. And this went back to Roman times. Once Spain was controlled completely by the Romans, Spain became even more Roman, even more of a defender of the... And they produced three emperors. Of course, the first two were from Baetica, Trajan and Hadrian. Trajano, Adriano. Trajan and Hadrian grew up in what is today Andalusia. And then Theodosius, who grew up, I think, in Cauca, in that area, in Coca, in Segovia. But he came much later. He came about 250 years after 200 years after Trajan and Hadrian. But nevertheless, Spain produced 3 emperors. And so the question is, how many emperors were produced by France, by Gaul, or by Germany, or by Turkey, Anatolia, or by Mauritania in North Africa? At that time, a lot of the area of what is today Algeria and Morocco were called Mauritania. The word Mauritania now refers to a country along the western coast, the western coast of Africa, just south of the Western Sahara, el antiguo Sáhara Español. Then you have Mauritania. I'd like to go down there. I'd like to visit Mauritania. And the reason is because I was in Marrakesh around the year 2000, about maybe almost 20, about 15 years ago maybe. And I remember watching I met a girl, black girl, absolutely the most beautiful thing imaginable. Just the most beautiful black girl. And I asked, where are you from? She said, I'm from Mauritania. And I said, are all girls in Mauritania like you? She said, yes. And from that, it's not true, of course, but from that point on, I said, I'm going to Mauritania someday, in my next life, when I go to heaven. And at St. Peter, when I reach the pearly gates, curiosa expresión, las valles perladas, we say the pearly gates. When I reach the pearly gates, and St. Peter says, hey, tú eres el vago en ese, de España, que sí? Yeah. All right, well, welcome to heaven, but hey, you can't come in yet. And what do you mean I can't come in? You need to spend about 3 weeks out in purgatory. What do you mean? you're a good guy, but you weren't perfect, so I think you need to spend about 3 weeks, walking around purgatory and to purge a little bit your sins. Then come back and we'll decide together whether you deserve to be in heaven or not. And so I'll go out and walk the highways and byways of purgatory. And then I'll go back to the gate and say, hey, St. Peter, I've been away for 3 weeks in purgatory. I promise you I've purged all my sins, a total catharsis. I'm ready. And he'll check his book and say, okay, well, all right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Te daré el beneficio de la duda. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. All right, you can go in. But you can choose what you want to do in heaven. I said, I want to go to Mauritania. I said, what do you mean Mauritania? That's down on the earth. But don't you have a cloud called Mauritania? Yeah, we do. Cloud number 733. It's called the Mauritanian cloud. Well, that's where I want to go. And he says, why is that? Because I met the most beautiful girl on the planet. And she was a black girl from Mauritania. I met her in Marrakesh in Morocco. And I want to go there. He said, well, I can't guarantee you that the girls on that cloud are from they're from Mauritania, yes, but I can't guarantee you that they're as beautiful as the girl you met. He said, I don't care, I'll take the chance. Nothing risked, nothing gained. I can imagine heaven in the arms of that young lady I met in Marrakesh. Yeah. So, I'll talk to St. Peter about that in a few years' time, not too long. I don't think I have too long to wait. Time's passing more quickly now as I get older, and so I'll look forward to cloud number 733. But I imagine I'll probably spend about 3 weeks in purgatory. It's funny, in the concept of purgatory, I don't really know if it's still considered valid within the Roman Catholic faith. Of course, when you read Dante Alighieri and you read the Divine Comedy, it's separated into 3 sections. Hell, purgatory, and heaven. The most interesting is Inferno. Dante's Inferno. In English, infierno, we say hell, H-E-L-L, but we also say infernal, or inferno, when we refer to Dante's piece of work. And we can use that word inferno figuratively. But in Spanish, infierno, we say inferno. Inferno is much stronger, more abrupt. But we use the adjective infernal, infernal. Fue una experiencia infernal. It's an infernal experience. But if you read Dante, it includes purgatory. Now, in the Protestant denominations, Lutheranism, Presbyterianism, Baptism, the Baptists, Church of Christ, the Anglicans or the Episcopalians, I don't think they include the concept of purgatory. You either go to heaven or to hell. If you've been bad, you go to hell. If you've been good, you go to heaven. Yeah. And that's the argument. Argument has been used for 2,000 years to tell people, if you're unhappy in this life, don't worry, you will inherit the kingdom of heaven. Yours is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Yeah. And a rich man will go to heaven the day that a camel passes through the eye of a needle. Many of the ideas and concepts that we extract from the New Testament especially, but from the Old Testament as well, have been translated 3 times at least, from Aramaic to Greek, from Greek to Latin, and then from Latin to Spanish or English or French or German or whatever. Now, I would imagine that most of the translations, vernacular translations of the Bible, were translated directly from Greek, not to the Vulgate Latin edition, but I don't know. And maybe I know that scholars go back to Aramaic or to Hebrew to read these things. And so the concept of the rich man, a rich man will a camel will pass through the eye of a needle before a rich man will go to heaven. I have read that it's an incorrect translation. It doesn't say that. Because it's very difficult to translate these works effectively and to understand exactly what they're saying. And I know for a fact, because I have a lot of experience translating. When I remember reading Spanish sentences and I say, no saco ni pies cabezas esta frase, no sé lo que quiere decir el autor. I can't make heads or tails out of this. Yeah. In Spanish, no puedo sacar ni pies ni cabeza. We say, I can't make heads or tails. No puedo sacar ni cara ni cruz. I can't make out heads or tails. Cabezas ni colas. Or rabos. I can't make out heads or tails of this. I just know what he's trying to say. And when you're translating, you have to try to figure out what the author's trying to say. And you don't realize when you read how often you can misunderstand what an author is saying. Because when we're reading our own language, you just flow along paragraph after paragraph, page after page, chapter after chapter. And we don't take for granted. We don't understand things. We just move right over it like a steamroller. We steamroll right over it. Steamroll is lo apisonamos. O sea, lo pasamos por encima como una apisonadora. Steamroller. Roll is rodar. Roller is rodador. Algo que rueda. It's a roller. Steam is vapor. O sea, vapor rodador. Rodador a base de vapor is steamroller. Steamroller, and that's the word we use for apisonadora in construcción. Obras públicas. Very important piece of machinery. The steamroller. And to be a good steamroller operator requires a very special person. I remember I was having lunch in, I think it was 1975 or 1976, summertime, with a fellow by the name of Carlos Mora. I remember his name perfectly. His wife was an English teacher, a Spanish English teacher. And he invited me to his house. He was maybe 10 years older than me. And after lunch, we sat out on the terrace of his house. And from the terrace, we could see the M30, the M30 in Madrid. But it was still under construction. This is a long time ago. And this part of this section of the M30 was still under construction. And and I remember perfectly. And the bridge, before they built the bridge crossing over the M30 in what is, I can't remember the streets now, but we were watching a steamroller. And this man, Carlos Mora, was a construction engineer. He was working in Obras Con, which is part of the Grupo OHL, owned by Villarmir. Obras Con Huarte Lain, OHL. La empresa OHL stands for Obras Con Huarte Lain. And so that's OHL. But at that time, these were separate companies. And one of the companies was Obras Con. And I had a class with Carlos Mora. And the classmate was Rafael Molovny. I'm saying these names now because this is from 1975. And Rafael Molovny was the nephew of Luis Molovny, the famous one from Real Madrid, I remember, from the Canary Islands. So I was giving class, but I went to Carlos Mora's house, and he was explaining to me some aspects of construction and civil works, public works, and we were watching from above, from the terrace of his house, looking down about 200 meters down to see a steamroller compacting the ground on a rampa de acceso a la M30. And he said, you see, he's driving at 1 kilometer an hour. And he has to be very patient and never drive faster, because otherwise the ground will not be compacted properly, and there will be problems 5 years later. And he says, so he has to be very aware of what he's doing and extremely patient. And he said it's not easy to find men who have the patience to drive these steamrollers, apisonadoras. at 1 kilometer an hour for 1 hour. Covering 1 kilometer only in 1 hour is the most boring thing imaginable, but you have to do it. Somebody has to do it.
Adelante. Buenos días, señora García. ¿Qué tal, Javi? ¿Cómo van esos tiempos verbales?
¿Se puede saber qué le mandó a mi hijo?
Cuéntanos la película. Me temo que su hijo sufre una sobredosis de show no. ¿Cuántos ha estado escuchando al día?
Buah, como vi que estaba mejorando, se lo grabé y es lo único que lleva en el iPod.
Pero mujer, 1 al día. ¿Ve lo que ocurre si no siguen mis instrucciones? De momento reduzca la dosis y la semana que viene pasen a verme.
Bárbaro, muchas gracias, doctor Alonso.
¿Problemas de inglés? So With No Name con Alberto Alonso. De lunes a viernes a las 10:30. Este programa puede ser adictivo. Escúchelo con moderación. Escuche las instrucciones de este medicamento y consulte a Alberto.
El máster es el curso más importante, más exigente y más intensivo que hacemos aquí en Biosystems. Cada persona invierte una cantidad de dinero y tiempo para hacer el curso y es muy importante para nosotros que cada persona termine el curso con el mejor nivel posible. Nuestros másteres son para todo el mundo. Tenemos desde presidentes y dueños de empresas hasta gente que está empezando su carrera profesional. Tenemos módulos y niveles para todo el mundo. El objetivo es que la gente pueda trabajar mejor en el viaje de negocios, trabajar por teléfono, por correo electrónico, sentirse más cómodo haciendo su trabajo en otro idioma. La gran mayoría de la gente viene como recomendación de un amigo, un compañero de trabajo, y después del curso siguen con nosotros haciendo otro tipo de curso por el nivel de satisfacción que tienen con las clases con nosotros.
Yo hice el MIP, el máster en inglés profesional. Es un programa de 5 días a la semana, de lunes a viernes, 5 horas por la mañana de clases. Yo hice el programa WIMEP, que es el Weekend Executive Master, que es la versión de fin de semana, ya que durante la semana no podía hacer la versión de lunes a jueves por el horario laboral, entonces decidí hacer la versión de fin de semana para que me permitiese poder estudiar y asistir a clase. Yo en mi caso me lancé a hacer el máster porque en mi trabajo necesitaba hacer presentaciones en inglés, necesitaba hablar mucho en inglés, incluso por teléfono, entonces fue la razón principal por la que me lancé a hacerlo, para tener una fluidez alta en el idioma y además hacerlo con seguridad. Tengo grandes problemas a la hora de hablar, me puedo comunicar perfectamente, pero no hablo de una manera correcta. Y también cosas muy importantes como el poder hablar en público sin tener que tener ese miedo o ese vacío a la hora de decir ¿qué hago ahora o qué digo? Con el máster he solucionado ese tipo de problemas, la verdad. Yo lo que más destacaría del máster serían los profesores. Ellos son unos grandes profesionales, te motivan muchísimo con el inglés. Por supuesto, los materiales exclusivos que tenemos en el programa. No estás como en una clase típica cogiendo apuntes, escribiendo, lo trabajas hablando. Y eso es muy complicado, porque coger una frase y de repente tener que hacerla en interrogativa, en negativa, cuando no lo tienes delante, ayuda a que la capacidad verbal y tu capacidad también con el idioma sea cada vez mayor, porque es un reto. Una de las partes que más me gustó del programa fueron las presentaciones a las que me tenía que enfrentar prácticamente cada semana. Otra de las cosas que más me gustó del máster fueron los 2 Downtown a los que asistí, porque esas experiencias serán siempre inolvidables y es una manera de darle un empujón importante al inglés.
Los másters en inglés profesional de Vaughan harán que se dispare tu carrera profesional. Llama e infórmate sin compromiso. No te arrepentirás. 91-133-5833. 91-133-5833. Estás escuchando
Vaughan Radio.
Porque es compatible con tu jornada laboral con un máximo de 6 alumnos por clase. Son los trimestrales de Vaughan. Exigentes, intensos. Sí, son los de Vaughan, con más de 40 años de experiencia. Elige el día de la semana y déjate de excusas. Ven a nuestro centro Vaughan en Madrid, en la calle Orense 69, primera planta, o en la calle Arapiles 18. Más información en el 91-133-5833. Trimestrales de Vaughan. 3 meses y notarás la diferencia.
to Richar Vaughan Live.
Hello, welcome. Yes, today's Friday, the last day of the week. For you, for me, I think it's Friday for everybody, at least in Spain, because of the time zone. People who are living now in China, my friends that I still have in China, today's Friday. But for the friends that I have in the United States, let's see. It's Friday for most, but for my son, no. My son lives in Los Angeles, and so it's not Friday yet. It's still Thursday night. Yeah, I think. Yes, there's a 9-hour difference. There is a 9-hour difference. Hours, adjetivo aquí, por eso no lleva ese. Una diferencia de 9 horas. Una 9-hora diferencia. A 9-hour difference between here and California. California, yes. And so that means if it's 7:32 in the morning here, that means it's 10:32 in the evening, Thursday night in California. So it's not good morning, welcome to Friday for everybody. If I have some people listening from California, or from Las Vegas, or from Montana, or from Denver, because that's an 8-hour difference. So it's 11:32 in the evening in Denver, Colorado. That's where my sister lives. So, for my sister and for my son, it's not yet time to say good morning. Besides, they're probably going to bed right now. Okay, so today's Friday. It's going to be Friday all day long. I'm traveling today. I'm going to drive north for about 4 hours, have lunch with some friends, and then drive back. So I'm going to spend most of my day on the road. But that's okay. I enjoy driving. I've done long one-day driving trips quite often in my life, very often in my life. Driving. The Americans, we usually are accustomed to driving long distances, but because the U.S., the distances are very far. Well, in Spain as well. I don't know how many times I've gone to Santander and back. Lately, no, it's been about 5 years, but there was a period of time that I went up there maybe once every 2 months, and I drove up to Santander City, or sometimes to Suances, sometimes to, what's the name of Comillas? I drove up there, sometimes to Villacarriedo, the Palacios Soñanes. We did Vaughan Towns there. Very nice places, Cantabria. Very nice, but not today. I'm not driving to Cantabria today. I'm driving a little bit further to the east, just south of the Pyrenees. All right. Can water flow uphill? No, it can't. Can water flow downhill? Yes. El agua baja. No sube. Water flows downward. That's one of the reasons many cities in ancient times and medieval times were built on hills. It was to facilitate the drainage, not necessarily for the protection, but to facilitate the drainage of water. And so when you see so many hill towns in Sicily, in Italy, in the Italian peninsula, here in Spain, look at Lerma. Look at Trujillo. These are hill towns. Look at Oropesa de Toledo. They're hill towns. Have you ever been to Oropesa? Then Oropesa del Mar, no, but Oropesa de Toledo. It's very nice, and it's a very nice parador. I would say maybe that's one of my favorite paradors. One of my favorite. Why? Because it's very nice. It's a very nice parador. Second, the restaurant has beautiful view. If you get a table, if you reserve a table in the Parador of Oropesa, try to reserve one of the 4 or 5 tables on the big windows overlooking the valley, the Tagus Valley, el Valle del Tajo. because it's a very good view. And then, hopefully, you have a good day. A clear day because you can see for 100 kilometers. It's very impressive. Sitting at these tables having lunch. But I think there are only 4 on the big windows. The restaurant's nice, but the big windows facing north. You look down onto the highway, the Extremadura highway, the autovía de Extremadura. But then, on the other side of the highway is 40 kilometers of valley, the Cuenca del Tajo. And on the other side you have the Gredos mountain range, over to Candeleda and to Madrigal de la Vera. It's very impressive. And that's what you call the massives of Gredos. It's a microclimate in Candeleda and in Madrigal. Candeleda, I would say, I think is probably the last town you have in Castilla y León. The very tip, in La Punta. And then 3-4 kilometers away, you cross the border into Cáceres, Extremadura. And that's the tip of Extremadura. So right there's an interesting geographical point in which you change. But both of them are protected by the wall. It's a 1,000-meter wall. It's very impressive. That protects Candeleda and Madrigal. And so you have a type of microclimate in that area. All of the Valle del Tietar and the La Vera has a type of microclimate that is not, you go to the other side of the mountains, you go over at Gredos and you're on the other side. On the other side you have Béjar, you have Piedrita, you have Barco de Ávila, you have Las Batuecas, and it's just colder. It's a lot colder on the other side, of course. But then you pass over 30 minutes and you're on the other side and you're in Candeleda or in Madrigal, and it's very nice. But if you go to the Parador de Oropesa, I would recommend making a reservation, probably an early reservation, a 1:30 lunch. That way, the likelihood that they will give you one of those 4 tables, you have to ask specifically, no las mesas que dan al Valle del Tajo, hasta donde se ve hasta Gredos enfrente. And it's impressive. It's a very impressive view. Because the Parador of Oropesa, of course, is the extension of a castle and a palace. And it's the castle of the Lord of the Manor, El Señor de la Zona, from medieval times. And of course, it's built on a hill for protection. But Oropesa, the village itself, is also built on a hill. And nearby you have La Lagartera, if you're interested, because it has very famous for certain types of, certain types of handicraft, artesanía, manual, handicraft. So, how do you say handicraft? Handicraft. Let's see what they say. Artesanía, labores manuales. All right. Handicraft, objetos de artesanía. And La Lagartera is famous for some types, special types of handicraft. La Lagartera. And it's, manteles, mantelerías y manteles de la Lagartera, bordados a mano. Yes, sir. La Lagartera, what's the population of Lagartera? It's strange, I always say La Lagartera when I speak about that. Population 1,422 inhabitants. Pretty small. Pretty small. All right. But it's only about 10 kilometers from Oropesa, or maybe even less. So, you might want to go there. You might want to go. Yes. It's famous for its, if you want to buy manteles. Yeah. La actividad comercial de sus bordados artesanales empezó a principios del siglo XX. Hace poco. Ok. Y actualmente la mayor parte de la economía del pueblo se basa en esta actividad. Ok, mantelería. Yes, bordados. 1,500 people. Small. But it's nice. bordado o labores de la cartera. So, I would recommend you go have lunch. Also, if you want, there are several things you can do. You can visit that area. It's an interesting area. Not very populated. Also, if you want to go to Guadalupe in the province of Cáceres, the Monasterio de Guadalupe, the Guadalupe Monastery is very impressive, very big. It's a surprise on such a tiny village to have this enormous monastery. Guadalupe. All right, we see if we can find it. Guadalupe is a very important word. Here in Spain, there are a lot of women whose name is Guadalupe. And for short, many times they say Guada. Hola, Guada. But if you go to Mexico, there are a lot of girls and women whose name is Guadalupe. But don't call them Guada. That sounds very hard, very harsh, very strong. You have to call them Lupe. Hola, Lupe. Vamos a manejar el carro. Entra el carro, Lupe. And here's Guada. I don't know which one's better, but let's look at the population of Guadalupe. The population is 1,960 people. But again, I recommend you go there to see the Claustro de Guadalupe in the monastery. It's really, really impressive. And it's a big, big surprise. How is it possible for such an enormous and impressive structure, the monastery, in such a small town? Okay. I think probably, I don't know the history of this monastery. I do know, I do know that it was a place of, what do you call it? Pilgrimage. It was a place of pilgrimage. 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 Pilgrimage means peregrinaje. It was a shrine. Shrine. S-H-R-I-N-E. A shrine is a place of pilgrimage. It's a place where people go. Santiago de Compostela is a shrine. Yes. Lourdes is a shrine. Fatima in Portugal is a shrine. Jerusalem is a shrine. It's a place where people go. Pilgrims go on their pilgrimages. When the Holy Land was closed off because of the Muslim takeover, when Islam conquered the area that is considered the Holy Land, Tierra Santa, Holy Land, then Santiago de Compostela became the place to go. And so people began to, and Rome as well, of course, a Roma, peregrinaje a Roma. But I think even Santiago de Compostela became more important. But Guadalupe, in Cáceres, I'm not sure if it was in La Ruta de la Plata. I don't know if Guadalupe was, I bet it was included. But nevertheless, La Ruta de la Plata was a route, I think, if I remember right, that was to go to one of the routes to Santiago, coming to Santiago, from Andalusia, through Extremadura, through León, into Galicia. I think that was the route to De La Plata, but I'm not sure. De La Plata. And we'll find out. Well, you have the Via de La Plata, Calzada Romana, from Augusta Merita to Astúrica, Augusta. Okay, up to Astorga. It's interesting. Augusta Merita, in Roman times, is now called Merida, and Astúrica Augusta is now called Astorga, up in the province of León. And so, it's interesting. And then you have the Autovía Ruta de la Plata, from Sevilla to Gijón, from Seville to Gijón. All right. La Ruta de la Plata, Camino Histórico Mexicano, okay. Between Mexico, DF y Zacatecas. All right. I don't think I've been to Zacatecas. I've been to Guanajuato. I've been near Zacatecas, but I don't think I've ever been there. But Guadalupe is and was a shrine. Shrine. Interesting word, shrine. I don't really know how to say shrine. I would say lugar de peregrinaje. Destino para de peregrinos. S-H-R-I-N-E. Let's see what they say. Shrine, santuario. Okay. Sagrario, santuario. Lugar sagrado. All right. A shrine. I like my definition better. Destino de peregrinaje o lugar de peregrinaje. A place where people go is a shrine. It's symbolic. In Guadalupe, the monastery of Guadalupe was the place where the conquistadors went upon returning from the New World. The Extremadura and conquistadors, of course. Maybe others as well. Because when they returned safely from the New World, the custom was to go to Guadalupe to give thanks to the Virgin of Guadalupe. And because of the importance of this for the Extremaduran conquistadors, in Mexico City, in Tenochtitlan, they built a shrine to Guadalupe as well. And it's the most important shrine in Mexico. And the Virgin, La Virgen de Guadalupe in Mexico. And that's why there's so many Mexican women whose names are Lupe, or La Lupe, all right, Guadalupe, all right. And that's because of the importance of this shrine in Guadalupe, Spain. And I would recommend you go. It's enormous. And it's interesting to see, I repeat, such an enormous structure and shrine, religious structure in such a small town. Of course, the monasteries and convents were this way. If you go to La Vive in the province of Burgos, not too far from Aranda de Duero, straight east from Aranda de Duero, about 30 minutes, you come to a tiny, tiny village of 50 people called La Vive. But then you see an enormous monastery, just enormous monastery, with a church, beautiful church. Inside is impressive. How much money was invested in La Vida, Monasterio de la Vida. And then you go to Caledruega, which is also in Burgos, not too far from Montoria de Valdearados, if you're familiar with this area. But you go to Caledruega. Of course, in Madrid, people know the street, Caledruega. I know that street very well, because an important client of mine had offices on that street for many years. Caledruega, and it has a big monastery. A big monastery. What's the population of Caledruega? 441 people. Wow. I think it's bigger than Ontoria de Valdearados, I think. This is in Burgos, in the southern section of Burgos. Some interesting areas around there. El Rio Gromejon, passes through there. All right. And they have a monastery. I can't find the name of the monastery. I can't find the name of the monastery. All right. La parroquia de San Sebastián, Convento de los Dominicos. Okay. Real Monasterio de Santo Domingo de Caledruega. That's it. Quite impressive. You know, you go into a town, a village of 441 people, and you have this enormous monastery. It's quite impressive. El convento, es un convento, de los dominicos, but Real Monasterio. So you have both. El convento de los dominicos, for the ladies, I suppose. Although here in Spain, it's interesting. In English, when you say convent, it's always referring to nuns, sisters, nuns, never to monks or to friars. But when you say, it's interesting, in Spanish, the word convento can be used for convento de monjas, but also convento de frailes. For example, I have a house in Madrid that is located in a convent, but it's convento de frailes jesuitas. It's interesting. Not too far from Icade and Icaí, these two old structures that are universities now, Jesuit universities within the Universidad de Comillas. And so, although the Universidad de Comillas doesn't exist anymore in Comillas, they've changed that. If you ever go to Comillas, in Cantabria, creo que he dicho Asturias, perdona, in Cantabria, I would recommend you try to visit the center, the old Jesuit Center for Studies, and it's been converted. Half of it is used for educational purposes. The other half, the government of Cantabria has invested maybe 60 million euros in renovating the other half of this complex. And I don't think they're using it. I think it's the typical agujero financiero. I don't know the current status. Maybe during the break I'll look up the current status. But it's impressive. I have visited it twice. Once I visited to see if I could take advantage of it for English courses. But it's too big. There's a problem with the politicians in this country. Well, there are many problems with the politicians, and in every country, eh? They plan these big obras faraónicas, these things. But what they did in Comillas was to design a learning center, centro de aprendizaje, with classrooms of a certain size, movable or electronic blackboards. It's just very sophisticated, but it's designed in a certain way. And for most of the uses, it's not the right design. I don't need those classrooms. They're too big. And it's un diseño estanco. And they make it thinking, the politicians and functionaries design these things thinking about a certain type of scenario. And that type of scenario doesn't take place so easily. Says con calzador. Come on. And so of course they spend, well then what happened in Cantabria is they had spent 40 million euros and they still needed to spend another 20 to finish it completely. But after spending 40 million, they had the dilemma, a moral dilemma and an economic dilemma. They realized that this was not going to be very viable. Said, what shall we do? Leave it unfinished or finish it? And so I think they finished it. I'm not sure. Cost a fortune for the people in Cantabria, probably for you and me, probably for the people in Spain, the taxpayers, contribuyentes. And I was speaking with Mr. Revilla about 2 years ago. We were together because they gave me an award for the Embajador Turístico de Turismo de Cantabria. Strange, I don't know why. Because I help people learn English, because we have a radio frequency that broadcasts this program. The people in the city of Santander. And in Soñanes, in Villa Carriel, we have done residential programs. And we have worked with Sodercan, Sociedad para el Desarrollo de Cantabria. So we've done a lot of work in Cantabria. And we have an office, very good office, in Santander. Ivani Carmen run it. Ivan Shuha, very good. If you're interested in English, if you live in Cantabria, if you live in Santander and you need English, we're there. And we do it very well. The best. But nevertheless, we were sitting together because he gave me the award. And I knew him from before. We had lunch together in Burgos in Landa a couple of years before that. And I asked him about Comillas, the obra faraónica. And he didn't decide that, I believe. I think he inherited that. Or they convinced him. And he said, my God, take it away from me. He said, find a way. And I said, it's too big for me and too ambitious for me. I don't need it. He said, "Oh my God, I hope you find something to do with that." Apparently it's a big financial hole in Cantabria. The Comillas Learning Center. I don't know the name. I remember meeting about 7 years ago the man who was in charge of the educational planning for that facility. And we couldn't reach, it was impossible. We were speaking 2 different languages about education. Okay, I'll be back.
Este mes de agosto sigue disfrutando allá donde estés. Llévanos contigo. Vuelve a repasar, a disfrutar, a divertirte, a descubrir. Descárgate los podcasts de Vaughan Radio y si quieres más comodidad, pide a Alexa que sintonice con Vaughan Radio. Este agosto te acompañamos donde quiera que vayas.
You're listening to Vaughan Radio. Do you want to improve your English? You're listening to the right radio. You're listening to Vaughan Radio.
Ven a conocer el método Vaughan. Invertimos todo nuestro esfuerzo en encontrar y formar a los mejores docentes. Porque no todos pueden decir que llevan más de 40 años de experiencia formando a la mayor parte de los directivos, empresarios, trabajadores de este país. Presumimos, pero es que es cierto. Trabajamos con los mejores docentes. Tu profesor está aquí. Infórmate en el 91-133-5833. 91-133-5833. En Vaughan buscamos soluciones. Vaughan & Company. Rentabilidad, dinamismo, resultados.
And find us at the handle Marta y Miki o simply
Dice, no es complicado hablar idioma, me cago en la leche.
Simply The Marta and Miki Show.
Vaughan Radio.
Easy Cool del Copo.
Todos los días a las 2 de la tarde.
¿Estás pensando en apuntar a tus hijos a clases de inglés? Seguro que cuando se lo dices piensan:
¡Madre mía, clases, qué rollo!
Que no, que en el Club Junior de Vaughan vas a aprender inglés sin darte cuenta.
¿Y por qué?
Porque el método Vaughan es siempre un reto dinámico y divertido. Venga, llámanos en compromiso al 911335832. A ver, ¿lo puedes decir en inglés? 9, 9, muy bien. 1, 1, muy bien. 1, 3, 3, dilo. 1, 3, 3, very good. Y ahora 5, 8, 5, 8, very good. Y ahora 32, 32, that's right.
El máster es el curso más importante, más exigente y más intensivo que hacemos aquí en baloncesto. Cada persona invierte una cantidad de dinero y tiempo para hacer el curso y es muy importante para nosotros que cada persona termine el curso con el mejor nivel posible. Nuestros másteres son para todo el mundo. Tenemos desde presidentes y dueños de empresas hasta gente que están empezando su carrera profesional. Tenemos módulos y niveles para todo el mundo. El objetivo es que la gente pueda trabajar mejor en ir de viaje, de negocios, trabajar por teléfono, por correo electrónico, sentirse más cómodo haciendo su trabajo en otro idioma. La gran mayoría de la gente viene como recomendación de un amigo o un compañero de trabajo y después del curso siguen con nosotros haciendo otro tipo de curso por el nivel de satisfacción que tienen con las clases con nosotros.
Porque es compatible con tu jornada laboral, con un máximo de 6 alumnos por clase. Son los trimestrales de Vaughan. Exigentes, intensos. Sí, son los de Vaughan, con más de 40 años de experiencia. Elige el día de la semana y déjate de excusas. Ven a nuestro centro Vaughan en Madrid, en la calle Orense 69, primera planta, o en la calle Arapiles 18. Más información en el 91-133-5833.
Una semana en un lugar apartado.
Nativos angloparlantes de todas partes del mundo, uno por cada estudiante.
Terminantemente prohibido hablar en español.
Actividades organizadas y conversaciones en inglés a todas horas. No exageramos.
Aquí o hablas inglés o hablas inglés.
Y da igual las veces que te lo contemos.
Hasta que no lo vivas no sabrás que Vaughan Town te va a quitar el miedo al inglés para siempre.
Lo que pasa en Vaughan Town no se puede contar.
Tienes que vivirlo.
Ven a Vaughan Town.
Más información, grupovaughan.com.
to Richar Vaughan Live.
Hello, welcome back. All right, today's Friday. I don't know the day. I know that Monday is the 12th. So if we move backwards, that means that Sunday is the 11th, Saturday is the 10th, so today's Friday the 9th. Okay, Friday the 9th. But on Monday the 12th, I'll be in Ancora at 7 p.m., 7 o'clock in the evening. Ancora is a discotheque and a restaurant, and we'll do the program in the restaurant section. I'll have a microphone, and for an hour and a half, I will speak to you. You don't have to speak to me. I'll speak to you in English, and it's a very challenging and demanding hour and a half for your ear, for your listening comprehension, and for the wealth of your vocabulary. La riqueza vocabularia, expressions, everything. We will go quickly, and it's quite challenging. And if you have an intermediate listening comprehension ability, you'll have trouble following me. But if you come every Monday, within a year, your listening comprehension will go from 50% probably to 70%. And that's very important. Very important. But in any case, and then the following Saturday, the 17th, once again with Javier Fernandez Aguado from 10 to 2, Entrepreneurism and Leadership. You go into grupovagon.com/seminario and you can sign up. grupovagon.com/seminario and you can sign up. It's in Madrid. Again, calle Trafalgar número 6 in Ancora. So join us, Javier Fernandez and me, and you'll find it very interesting and very beneficial. All right. Does the planet Mars orbit around the sun? Yes, it does. How many other planets orbit around the sun? Well, 7 other planets, because Pluto is no longer considered a planet. But 8 planets in all orbit around the sun. Pluto also orbits around the sun. Do you orbit around the sun? Me? Yes, I do. I orbit around the sun as well. In fact, right now, as I'm speaking to you, ahora mismo, conforme os hablo, escuchad en inglés, right now, as I'm speaking to you, I am orbiting around the sun. And so are you. Y vosotros también. And so are you. Well, all of us are orbiting around the sun very quickly. We're moving very fast through the firmament, through space. But of course we don't realize it. And the Earth is turning. The Earth is turning. How fast is the Earth turning? I don't know. But faster than we can fly a plane, I believe. I don't know if we can fly faster than the Earth's turn. The Earth needs 24 hours to make a complete turn. All right. I think some of the jets can at Mach 2 or Mach 3. Yeah, I think they can fly faster than the Earth's movement. But I think they're 40,000 kilometers. I think the circumference. What's the circumference of the Earth? Circumference. I think it's 40,000 kilometers. Divided by 24 hours, we have 1,600. You have to travel 1,667 kilometers an hour, going with the movement of the Earth in order to stay stationary. And there are satellites orbiting the Earth at that speed in order to stay positioned over one particular point on the planet. Okay, traveling. The Earth turns. Yeah. The Earth turns on its axis. There's an axis that runs from the North Pole to the South Pole. Magnetic field. Un campo magnético. It's a magnetic field, and the Earth turns. Gira sobre su eje. It turns on its axis. A-X-I-S. Axis. Okay? And the axis we use for the concept also of los poderes del eje. Not Germany, Italy, and Japan. The Axis powers. And Austria. The Axis powers. Yeah. But when we talk eje de las ruedas, de unas ruedas, we don't say axis, we say axle. Axle. A-X-L-E. Axle. Yeah, Axel. Axel. And there's a German name for a boy made by Axel. Axel means the same pronunciation. The Axel, yes. My father, instead of saying accidente, decía siempre accident. Accident. My father played with the language like that. An accident. I think there's for example, if we were in the car and we had to slow down and the traffic was congested, sometimes my father said, well, maybe there's an accident ahead. Now, an accident doesn't mean anything. In fact, it means abolladura de eje. De coche, de ruedas. Doesn't make sense. Also, he said a horse pistol, referring to a hospital. Pistola de caballo. Horse pistol. All right. I don't know, sometimes he just said silly things. But I do too. I say a lot of silly things, even on the air. My father never said silly things in front of 200,000 people, but I do it. Yeah. Yesterday I was singing a song on the air. Can you believe it? What's good about the radio is I can't see you. So I can pretend you're not there. I know you're listening to me right now, but I can't see you. So I can pretend that I'm alone and that nobody except Nacho, of course, at the sound, but Nacho already knows that I'm crazy. So it doesn't matter. But I can't see you. And you can't see me. And so I can pretend. To pretend. Yeah, very important verb in English. Que no significa pretender. Ojo. Funny. The English language changed the meaning of this word. Because the word pretension, pretensión, es lo mismo que en español, pretension. And pretentious, pretencioso. We say pretentious. So Spanish and English are the same with pretension and pretentious. But the verb, pretend, is totally different. Pretend is fingir, o hacer, o actuar, para, I don't know how to say it, simular, jugar algo. Vamos a jugar a que, yo juego a que estoy solo. Okay. I know you're listening to me, but I can't see you. So, because you can't see me and I can't see you, I can do silly things and I don't feel embarrassed. Yesterday I was singing the song about Pussycat by Tom Jones. Pussycat, Pussycat, I've got flowers and many hours to spend with you. Yes. And then Pussycat, Pussycat, you're delicious. And if my wishes can come true, soon I'll be kissing your sweet little pussycat lips. And so silly things. Most people would be so embarrassed that I'd never do that. Never. What you call a sentido de ridículo. And in this expression, we don't have in English. I guess to feel ashamed is not really correct. Sentir vergüenza o avergonzado. To feel ashamed in English is usually when you do something you shouldn't have done and you're sorry. You're ashamed. Yes, you do something. Okay. And then you realize it was something bad. And so, yes, I made fun of Jimmy, and Jimmy's a paraplegic, and now I feel ashamed. Okay. You don't make fun of people who suffer physical handicaps. Come on, you don't make fun of them. You should feel ashamed of yourself. Deberías estar avergonzado por lo que has hecho. You should be ashamed. In that case, but to sentirlo ridículo, I don't know how to say that in English, just to feel like an idiot, to feel like a fool, To make a fool of yourself. Hacer el ridículo. All right. Is to make a fool of yourself. To make a fool of yourself. So yesterday when I was singing the Tom Jones song, Pussycat, Pussycat, I love you, yes I do, and I made a fool of myself, but life's too short to worry about not making a fool of yourself sometimes. Don't be afraid. Take risks. Yeah. In the end, it's more expensive not to take risks than to make mistakes or fail in the risks you take. All right. Question here. I have another question for you. Are you interested? Yeah? Okay. Could Hercules perform incredible feats? Yes, he could. Could Hercules perform incredible feats? Yes, he could. What people in history have performed incredible feats? I don't know. Hernán Cortés defeating the Aztecs, for me, was an incredible feat. Pizarro defeating Atahualpa and the Incas was an incredible feat, although they used not so legitimate means to do it, but it was an incredible feat. The architect who built the Taj Mahal, that was an incredible feat. The architect who built the monastery of St. Basil on Red Square in Moscow was an incredible feat. And the Tsar put out his eyes. He blinded him. Incredible feats. Incredible feats. What incredible feats do we know? El Cid Campeador performed some incredible feats. Yeah. And many more. Ignacio de Loyola in creating the Jesuit order so quickly and so powerfully. That was an incredible feat. Yeah. And mi amigo Sancho learning English, that was an incredible feat. Yes, an incredible feat. I probably cannot find the poem, but I wrote a poem about him. He was a student I had from September 9th, 19... Let's see, mi amigo José. That's the name of the poem. A ver si lo puedo encontrar. Poema mi amigo... No, I can't find it. All right. Si quieres puedes. It's in a book I published called Si quieres puedes. Mi amigo José. And I can't find it. I can find it during the break. Because I can find Si quieres puedes in PDF on the... I can maybe find that poem. And so I can talk about mi amigo José. Quite a feat. Quite a feat. Vaya, una hazaña, una proeza. Mucho. If, here, maybe I can find it here. I just found the PDF. And maybe I can find the poem. I don't know. Nacho's not in his place, but he has that poem, I think. Let's see if we can find it. Because usually the PDFs are only the first 15 pages or something of the book. But I don't know if I can find the poem of mi amigo José. We'll try to find it, and I will recite it to you. And it's about una hazaña. Yeah, una hazaña. And I don't think I can find it. Come on now. Here. Nope, not yet. Not yet. I'll keep scrolling down. And maybe I can reach it. Here's another poem. El Camino Secreto al Inglés. This is an interesting poem. Lo hago, lo hice, lo haré, lo he hecho. Estas cosas pronuncié sin rencor ni despecho, etc. Okay. But let's go on. Let's see if we can find it. Come on. I think I'll reach it. And I'll be able to recite the poem. Here we go. Come on. El duro sermón de Clara Paulette. That's a different poem. Are you my new teacher, mi profe nueva? My name is Raúl y mi inglés es de cueva. I talk like a caveman, destrozando gramática. I try very hard, aunque de forma errática. I hope you are patient, que no soy muy clever. Y si contigo aprendo, I will love you forever. You seem irlandesa, and your smile me encanta. Are you a good teacher? Tienes cara de santa. My English is bad, y me tachan de vago. They call me muy bestia. ¿Será un halago? All right. Funny. But then Clara Pauletti begins to speak. Yeah. Good morning, Raúl. I'm Clara Pauletti. My English is perfect, but I'm from Albacete. My mother's English, and I grew up in Bristol. And my smile may be saintly, but I teach with a pistol. You want to learn English, and you're paying good money. My job is to teach you, so don't try to be funny. We'll start with the past tense, but the future will come, a future of learning. So with me, don't play dumb. Your control of the basics is far from poetic, and your use of the tenses is frankly pathetic. Your charm is attractive, but there's work to be done. Yes, there's work to be done, and most is not fun. You're a typical man of Spanish extraction, whose actions are rooted in clever reaction. Your smile and your charm make the atmosphere pleasant. And as a result, I have brought you a present. A present called homework, 15 hours a week. A present designed to provide what you seek. My plan never fails, and that's why I am here. Your boss knows my fees, a price quite severe. But I always succeed, I never have failed. And with people like you, I have always prevailed. If you make my task tough with your típicas gracias, te caerán mil tormentas y un montón de desgracias. They say you're quite bright, a man with a vision. But for me, you're a man who is lacking decision. Your level of English is shockingly low, which reflects on your character and puts you below the millions of people who have mastered the speech. So gracias aparte, my job is to teach. And I'll teach you this language, o moriré en el intento. Pero antes de morir, firmaré tu linchamiento. There's a saying in English, where there's a will, there's a way. And if I fail in this project, you're the one who will pay. So begin with your homework y corta el rollo, porque a partir de ahora sudarás como un pollo. Okay, that's called El Duro Sermón de Clara Pauletti. Raúl, are you my new teacher, mi profe nueva? My name is Raúl y mi inglés es de cueva. Okay, etc. And so Clara Pauletti, gives him a little bit of a sermon here. But this poem I was looking for, I can't find it, apparently. I can't find it. La dura lección del amigo Vicente. That's another poem. Vicente está triste, asustado y tenso, su aplomo de siempre va en claro descenso. Su costumbre de mandar sus fueros internos se ha hecho añicos en estos lares externos. Okay. But where's the one, my good friend? Sancho. Conrado el Perfeccionista is another poem. These are different types of English students. Conrado insistía otra vez en lo mismo, con su actitud de siempre de absoluto estoicismo. Hablaré inglés cuando lo haya aprendido, y mientras esperaré que haya entendido. All right. Necesito más clases y ampliar vocabulario. Necesito más gramática, un completo inventario. All right. And he goes on and on and on. But where's the one about my good friend Jose, mi amigo Jose? That's the name of the poem. It's in English, not in Spanish. And I think I'll find it because La Balada de Don Felipe. This is another poem. Felipe quería pedir un ascenso. Quería respeto, buscaba consenso, quería dinero, se creía experto. Y en ello se fue a hablar con Alberto. Ok. Me manejo en todo, resuelvo y arraso, soy listo, no bobo, solvento cada caso. Me merezco más pasta en un despacho con vistas. Soy un tío con casta y de las mentes más listas. Ok. Con esto Alberto, con un gesto sincero, se echó para atrás en su silla de cuero. Amigo Felipe, eres todo un tío, pero te falta una cosa que nos causa un lío. Tu inglés es de pena, es un hecho sabido. Y los tíos con casta son bilingües con brío. Little poems, cute little poems, that illustrate the problem with English. I found it. Mi amigo José. My most memorable student, the best one of all, was a short little man with a mustache quite tall. He began his first class, a beginner at best, at age 57, but with vigor and zest. A professional soldier, artillery was his, and to annihilate English, his immediate aim. He was 1.50 meters, but strong and robust, and determined to fight, as success was a must. The first thing he learned was, "My name is Jose." And on hearing his accent, I started to pray. Dear God, why on earth is this student for me? I would rather be forced to give class to a tree. But my patience is golden, and my smile never ending, and I never get angry or sound condescending. As a perfect professor, I can well masquerade, and my patience is vast when I know I'll be paid. Every day for 2 years, from 8:30 to 10, he repeated each structure again and again. His military discipline and total devotion pushed his progress beyond Newton's third law of motion. In a year he could handle, with relative ease, routine situations of different degrees. And in 2 years, his level was more than enough to negotiate contracts with more than one bluff. In year number 3, I found something quite strange, and I started to notice a troubling change. His incredible progress began to subside, and I saw there was something he wanted to hide. Near the end of the year, it was totally clear that the effort and will of this army engineer was unable to stop the steady decline in his mastery of English, 1 year prior, divine. But his attendance was perfect, and his effort supreme, and his spirit persistent, and his passion full steam. But his grammar was breaking, and his memory spent, and his progress was now in a spiraling descent. Then one Sunday, Julita, the wife of Jose, gave the news that her husband had just passed away. He had left me a letter, which I still keep today, the last letter written by my good friend Jose. Dear teacher, I'm leaving without having paid the debt that I owe you for your holy crusade. My last years were fun with the provocative reto to master your English with your delightful libretto. If I'm reincarnated while you are still here, I will send out detectives with electronic gear to find you and bring you to teach me once more with that method you use that I so much adore. This is partially a true story. I changed some of the events to make it more, emotional. My good friend Jose didn't die of cancer or similar. But his wife's name is Julita. That's true. And everything I say here is true. But he's not 1.50 meters. He's probably about 1.65 meters. Okay. But it was a very hard-working person. He's the best student I've ever had in my life. The best student from the point of view of effort and improvement. I've had students who have improved much more quickly than he, but they were not 57 years old as a beginner. But he started as a beginner at age 57. And by the time he was 59, he spoke quite well. Quite well. Big surprise. And the first 5 minutes of the first class, I said, oh my God, this guy will never learn English. But he applied military discipline y logró una hazaña, a feat, an incredible feat.
Hay tan poca gente en España con un alto nivel de inglés, tan poca, que las empresas las rifan. El sistema educativo no ayuda a solucionar esto, y en las universidades el inglés sigue siendo una maría. Entonces, ¿qué hacen los chavales cuando terminan la carrera? Pues buscan trabajo o bien prolongan su educación con un máster. Los que buscan empleo aspiran, claro, a buenos puestos o a las buenas empresas, pero se colocan mal. Sí, se colocan mal por la falta de un buen nivel de inglés. ¿Y qué hacen ante esto? Pues muchos hacen un máster en recursos humanos o en derecho comunitario o algo por el estilo para mejorar su currículum. La verdad es que seguimos sin entenderlo. ¿Por qué dedicáis 1 a 2 años a un máster, sabiendo que vuestra carencia es el inglés? ¿Por qué? Si dedicarais ese año exclusivamente al inglés, con el mismo empeño que en ese máster que teníais pensado o que habéis hecho, ¿saldríais hablando el idioma? ¿Has escuchado alguna vez a Richard? Pues eso. Y esto no es vender humo, esto no es una broma. Las empresas os cogerían sin pestañear. Saber inglés como Dios manda vale 5 másters. Estamos hablando sobre todo a los jóvenes. En su último año de carrera, os queda poco tiempo para venderos en el mercado laboral. Cada año salen al mismo tiempo miles de personas a buscar su primer empleo. Pronto vais a tener un montón de competidores, cientos, miles de competidores, todos con licenciatura o con máster. ¿Cómo piensas competir con ventaja? ¿Cómo vas a diferenciarte de todos ellos? Para las empresas serás uno más del montón, todos con su diploma o con su máster, y todos con un inglés bastante pobre. Ahora que tienes 22, quizá 23 años, a tu edad todavía no cuesta tanto hacerte con un alto nivel de inglés. Si no acometes este problema ahora, si te empeñas en esquivar el asunto haciendo un máster en empresas, que tampoco te va a diferenciar al final, te condenas a arrastrar el tema del idioma inglés hasta el fin de tu vida profesional. Hazme caso. Lo vemos todos los días. Si no agarras el tema del inglés ahora, con decisión y firmeza, no llegarás a saberlo nunca. Siempre tendrás un nivel medio. ¿Serás uno más del montón? El inglés en España abre más puertas que ninguna otra cosa. Infórmate sobre el Máster en Inglés Profesional o el Executive Máster en Inglés Profesional, también en versión fin de semana, en Madrid, Valencia y Barcelona. Infórmate grupoaugan.com o 911335833.
Trabajamos con canciones que han sido diseñadas y creadas especialmente para aprender inglés.
Canta las canciones constantemente. Al final canto yo con ellas también las canciones y al final pues aprendo pues, canciones nuevas y la verdad es que nos divertimos bastante.
Los deberes están genial porque está todo disfrazado con cuentos, canciones, pasatiempos, ejercicios, un montón de cosas.
La verdad que este nuevo formato motiva muchísimo a los niños porque son clases como extraescolares que ya vienen de estar toda la jornada en el colegio, son 2 horas más y aún así él no sale cansado ni nada. Lo recomiendo 100%.
Así tus peques encontrarán un entorno de ensueño que les hará ilusionarse como nunca con el inglés. Descubre el centro Disney English Vaughan más cercano a tu ciudad. Recuerda que estamos en Alicante, Barcelona, Bilbao, Valencia, Valladolid, Santander, Vigo, Zaragoza y Madrid. Conoce nuestros centros. Entra ahora en grupoaugan.com.
Estás escuchando Vaughan Radio.
vidas son más productivas con Richar Vaughan.
You're listening to Richar Vaughan Live.
Hello, welcome back. All right, we're back for our second hour. Yes, would you donate money to noble causes if you were a billionaire? Would you donate money to noble causes if you were a billionaire? If I were a billionaire, yeah, I would want to donate money to noble causes. Causes nobles, no? Noble causes. Problem is sometimes you don't know how efficiently that money is going to be used. Bill Gates and his wife, quite a few years ago, started their own NGO, or their own charity fund. And I think he controls a lot the flow of the money to make sure that it doesn't get lost along the way. That's one of the problems with all of these organizations. Also, the organizations end up being heavy in employees. And so a lot of the money that they collect simply pays the salaries and the rent and doesn't end up reaching, Angola or Zimbabwe or the jungles of Paraguay. It just doesn't reach the final destination because you have 17 salaries plus the rent of 2 different offices, plus airfares and all of the logistics. And so a lot of times the money you give, maybe 20% reaches the destination. And then in the destination, often the functionaries in the airport, of which there's what you call losses along the way. Por el tubo, the pipeline, losses along the pipeline, leaks, hay fugas. And so, if I were a billionaire, I would be very interested in donating money to noble causes, but I would need to look into the efficiency of the organizations devoted to those causes. Does eye color tell you something about a person's character? Does eye color tell you something about a person's character? That's an interesting question. Maybe. Because when you meet people, if you meet 100 people with brown eyes, maybe 50% of them will be extroverted, very open, gregarious. At least maybe 50 of the 100. If you meet 100 people with blue eyes, I would say only 10% or 15 or 20% would be open, gregarious, very extroverted, outgoing. And it means that people with green eyes and blue eyes often are, of course, they are descendants of people from colder climates. And these people are usually more reserved, they're quieter, not outgoing and gregarious necessarily. I don't know. But if it is true, if you meet 100 blue-eyed blondes, they will be more quieter than 100 Gina Lollobrigidas or Sophia Lorens or Penelope Cruz, these type of men. So I think, yes, eye color can tell. There's a certain correlation. But you never know. So does eye color tell you something about a person's character? Not about a specific person's character, no. But you can draw conclusions about the general character of people depending on their eye color. All right. Does it take long to get over a broken heart? I don't know. It depends on how strong you are as a person. Some people never get over a broken heart. I know one man who was never married. And I asked him once, when are you going to get married? You're never going to get married. He said, no. I said, why not? Is because I had a bad experience many years ago, and I decided that I will never get married. Okay. And he's still not married. Right now, he's 59 or 60 years old. Handsome guy, good-looking guy. I mean, he's active, let's say, but never got married, no children. And it's a pity. It's too bad. Because he would have fathered very strong children. He would have been a very good father. And so, he usa la palabra father como verbo aquí. To father. Engendrar, en este caso, como padre, no como madre. To father. Let's see what word reference says for father. To father. And he would have been a very good father. Because he's a very intelligent guy, very nice person. Very top-class person. Father. Let's see what they say. Father, como verbo. To father. Procrear. Okay. Concebir. Okay. Ser un padre. To father. And there are many, many people in this world now, in Spain especially, and in many other, Italy and Sweden, Denmark. There are a lot of people, very, very bright people with no children. And they would have, the children they would father, the children they would have would probably end up being very good, very valid contributors to society. But we're losing it. Here in this office, there are quite a few very bright people. Well, there are a lot of very bright people. Bright. Interesting word, bright. Bright means brillante en el sentido que deslumbrate, una luz. The light is very bright. Can you dim it? Can you turn down the intensity? It's too bright. But when you talk about a bright person, it means an intelligent person. Inteligente y espabilado. Con luces. No significa brillante. Una persona brillante is brilliant. He's a brilliant person. So, lindando con la genialidad. He's a genius. He's a brilliant person. We say he's a bright person. It means tiene luces. Tonto no es, eh? All right. So he's a bright person. And we have a lot of bright people here. And the average age of the people here is probably around 35. And of those bright people, at least half have no children. And I'm thinking of one right now. One that you know, if you listen to this radio. Of the people on this radio who do these radio shows, all of them are very bright. At least 4 of them have no kids. All right. They have no kids. And it's too bad. It's una lástima. It's too bad because they would be excellent mothers or fathers. And they would bring up strong, healthy, excellent children for the future. But they will not contribute to the gene pool. They will not contribute, and they don't care. I think they don't care about contributing to the gene pool. The gene pool. Pool is una piscina, no? Pool también es I don't know. How do you say pool? Pool también es albergue. Pool. Un estanque. Una pileta. Un charco is a pool. Pero también es un grupo. Un equipo. A pool también es billar americano. To play pool. But a pool is un grupo. And I'm saying the gene pool. El grupo genético. El patrimonio genético. Contribuir. And these people are not contributing to the gene pool. And it's too bad because their contribution, I think, would be very positive to the gene pool because they are strong, they're intelligent, they're good, and so their progeny, their children, would probably be strong, intelligent, and good as well. And we need people like that on this planet. But many of the people who are bright and intelligent have made decisions that they don't want to have children, some of them. And so they want to get ahead in public life, in business or in any type of, in their professional lives. They find stimulation. It's understandable. It's much easier to find stimulation in professional activity than to be at home raising children. That can be a nullifying situation intellectually. My daughter has 2 little girls, age 4 and age 2. And she says, well, my vocabulary is getting more and more limited. Now I'm saying Barbie, children's language. She said, that's the only language I use now. And so her children are dumbing her down. We say the dumbing down. Atontando, mija. And my son doesn't have any children. So my surname will die. If my son has no children, my name will die. All right. He's the last of the Mohicans, eh? Hey, I can say to my son, hey, Jack, don't let me down. Give me a grandson or a granddaughter, but especially a grandson to continue the name. But you see, I don't care. That's not important for me. It's not important for me. So it's my son's decision. But he should have kids too, because he's a strapping, strong, happy, good-looking kid. All right, and so he'd be a wonderful father. Yeah, probably. But you never know, because the relationship father-son and the relationship father-daughter is a very interesting relationship. Usually, the relationship father-son is difficult. It's funny because men usually want a son. Quieren un hijo varón. Yeah. However, for men, the daughter usually adores her father. And also will take care of the father in his old age. Whereas the son naturally rebels against the father, consciously or unconsciously. During the adolescent years, the son rebels. And young adult, the son rebels. Taras Bulba. Did you ever read the book Taras Bulba? Or see the movie? There was a movie about Taras Bulba. It takes place in what is today the Ukraine. Taras Bulba. Taras. Como suena? T-A-R-A-S. I think the correct pronunciation is Taras. But Taras Bulba. But in English we say Taras Bulba. All right. Es una novela histórica y romántica de Gogol. Gogol. I don't know how to pronounce Gogol's name. But it's a very interesting story. Taras Bulba. Yeah. And the father and the son end up enemies. And in fact, the son passes from the Cossacks. It's a story of the Cossacks, Los Cosacos. And the son passes to the other side and fights with the Poles. That was during the times of the Polish Empire, and Imperio Polacco. The Poles had an important empire in what is today Poland, Lithuania, Ukraine, maybe what is Slovakia, and these Moldava and these areas. But Taras Bulba is a historical novella, nivola, como decía uno. Novella is a short novel by Nikolai Gogol. And it describes the life of an old Zaporizhian Cossack, Taras Bulba, and his 2 sons, Andrei and Ostap. Okay. And it's interesting. They join the other Cossacks and go to war against Poland. Yes, but the father-son relationship is very well set out in this story. There was a movie made with Yul Brynner and Tony Curtis. And I saw that movie when I was 10 years old or 11 years old. Let's see who's in it. Yeah, Tony Curtis and Yul Brynner. And Yul Brynner has hair in that. He's not bald. He has hair in that movie. Interesting. And the girl, I can't remember her name, but she was beautiful. I fell in love with that girl. I can't remember her name. Christine Kaufman. She played Christine Kaufman. Christine Kaufmann, con K, a German-Austrian actress. She was very beautiful in that movie. I fell in love with her when I was 10. Yeah, I was very romantic. I still am. Still am, to tell you the truth. Yeah, Christine Kaufmann when she was young. Younger than springtime. And I go to Google Images. And she played the Polish princess, or the Polish girl. And Tony Curtis falls in love with her in Taras Bulba. And I fell in love with her too. So Tony Curtis and I both had similar tastes. Yeah, there's some pictures. I'm looking at a few pictures that are absolutely gorgeous. But there are a few pictures she's not, which means she's one of those type of actresses who, depending on the pose, depending on the facial expression, can be beautiful. You know, it looks to me like they were together. I'm seeing so many pictures of them together. Tony Curtis and Christine Kaufmann. Maybe they were together. Tony Curtis. I don't know. And Christine Kaufmann. All right. I think they were married. I didn't know that. I didn't know that she and Tony Curtis were married. I'm learning new things today, by the way. Yes, sir, Christine Kaufmann. She was married to Tony Curtis from 1963 to 1968. And she met him in 1961 and 1962, making this movie. Yeah. And they have 2 children. Allegra Curtis, including Allegra Curtis. She's an American-born actress who worked in English and German movies. She is the daughter of these 2. All right. And her half-sister is Jamie Lee Curtis. You remember Jamie Lee Curtis from True Lies, Mentiras Arriesgadas, and from A Fish Called Wanda. A Fish Called Wanda. Jamie Lee Curtis is a brilliant actress, usually funny, but she can be very serious, and she also did a few horror films as well. Jamie Lee Curtis, she's the daughter of Tony Curtis and, what's her name? Oh. I can't remember her mother's name. Janet Leigh. And Janet Leigh, if you don't remember Janet Leigh, she was beautiful. She's a beautiful actress. And she was the actress in who everybody remembers, of course, from the bathroom, the shower scene in Alfred Hitchcock's Psychosis. You remember in Psycho? There's a blonde in the shower, and the owner of the hotel walks in and kills her with a knife. Yeah. That scene shocked so many people, and some people had traumas, couldn't sleep for 1 year after seeing that scene. And of course the music that goes with it. And that was Janet Leigh. Yes. She died at the age of 77 in 2004. She was born in 1927. All right. And Jamie Lee Curtis, she married Tony Curtis, and Jamie Lee Curtis is the daughter. But the father-son relationship is very interesting. It's complicated. The father-daughter relationship often is not. Sometimes the daughter has the father figure. I know one woman, I call her a girl, one young lady, and her father suffered a stroke. And the father is basically a vegetable. The father cannot respond, and it's clear that she's missing the father figure. Her father was a very intelligent man and a very capable person, and she started working with her father. And then he had suffered this stroke, which is death. Basically, he's dead. He's a vegetable. And for the past 10 years, it was about 9 or 10 years ago this happened. And you can tell when you're around her that she misses the father figure that she had. Somebody to look up to. Somebody to admire. somebody to admire, somebody to look up to. Phrasal verb, to look up to es admirar. To look up es mirar hacia arriba, porque has puesto a alguien en un pedestal. Entonces miras arriba hacia esa persona. To look up to that person. I look up to him is le admiro. I look up to him. I admire him. Yes. Le tengo en gran estima. I look up to him. I hold him in high esteem. ¿Se dice lo mismo en inglés? You say in Spanish, I think le tengo en gran estima. We use sostener, sujetar. To hold. I hold that person in high esteem. E-S-T-E-E-M. I hold him in high esteem. All right, shall we continue? Should we address people courteously? Well, of course we should. We should address people courteously. Yeah. Dirigirnos a las personas con cortesía, claro. ¿Deberíamos dirigirnos a la gente con cortesía? Of course. We should address people courteously at all times. It's interesting that in Spain, the usted form is used less and less, and the tuteo is becoming universal here. Many children never use, they don't even know how to use the usted form. But the tuteo, you go to France, no. Vous êtes, vous savez, tu es, tu sais, is used much less. And so when I go to France, I use vous. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez? And so, but here, ¿qué sabes? And I use the usted form here in Spain more than Spanish people do. When I meet somebody I don't know, I always say usted. But very few people do. That's changing now. And yesterday I was with a couple from Mexico. And the Mexican man, Don Octavio, he's my age, but it was usted. That was the second time we met. We met to sign a contract, and with Octavio, and so it was usted. I remember one friend of mine, I have a friend, who's probably about 10 years older than I am. His name is Ramon. And we met in around 1992, maybe. And I was his teacher. He's a very wealthy man. He has a lot of money. And very hard worker, very intelligent man. Wow. Special guy. Interesting person. And for the first 10 years of our friendship, it was always usted. And we would have lunch together, out in a restaurant, telling jokes, just having a good time, and it was usted. And I remember a friend of mine, Sergio, he joined us one time, and he was surprised. My God, you guys talk the usted? Still, we finally changed. We finally decided, it's usted es raro. Let's change the two. All right. But I like the usted form. I like the vous form in French. I like it. Usted, it comes from vuestra merced, or vuesa merced. And so over the centuries it has been, I suppose, shortened to the concept of usted. And the spelling is U-S-T-E-D. It's a strange word. Usted. I mean, look at the word. Look at the word. I mean, how many words in Spanish end in a D? All right, Valladolid. Okay, Dolid, but that comes from the surname Olid. La Valle del Señor Olid. Valladolid. And so, Olid. But you know how many, hablad, venid, comed, of course, the plural imperative of vosotros, you put the D. But usted, you write it, then you look at it, it's a strange word. And of course the abbreviation is VD. VD. UVD. Alright. VD. And, but when I write usted, I write it complete. I never put VD. But VD means vuestra. La primera letra de vuestra. Y la última de usted. Merced. Vuestra merced. Yeah. Or vuesa merced. There are two ways. I think It's just the evolution of Vuestra Merced. It evolved to Vuestra Merced, and then to usted, simply. I don't really know. It's interesting, though, the evolution of this. Yeah. Of this expression. But I knew Vuestra Merced when I was 20 years old. I was studying, even before, when I was 14 and 15, studying Spanish literature in secondary school in my Spanish class. Yeah. Vuestra Merced. Funny, it's interesting about languages and about the formalities within languages. Richar Vaughan's son, Richard's son. The Japanese call me that sometimes. I'll be back.
Tú, como experiencia con los alumnos, ¿qué dirías que es lo que ocurre el primer día?
Pues, a ver...
¿Con nervios? Vamos, que no...
Sí, bueno, depende un poco del nivel, ¿no? O sea, porque siempre hay como diferentes grupos. Los que suelen venir más asustados suelen ser la gente que lleva mucho tiempo sin practicar su inglés, que de repente tiene una necesidad muy, muy grande de tener que mejorarlo en poco tiempo, ¿no? Esa es la gente que viene como más asustada y como con más miedos, ¿no? Y como con una visión muy negativa sobre ellos mismos. Yo destacaría que esos son los puntos a trabajar, ¿no? Muchas veces no es tanto trabajar sobre gramática, pronunciación y conceptos, que por supuesto, y lo hacemos, sino también ser un poco coach y trabajar con la persona y destruir un poco esa imagen tan negativa que tienen de sí mismos y de su inglés, ¿no? Que muchas veces no se corresponde con la realidad.
Y eso, en cuanto empiezan, ya
Sí, poco a poco. O sea, el método es tan, digamos, te mantiene tan ocupado en lo que tienes que hacer, que ya llega un momento en el que dices, mira, ya o estoy presente en clase trabajando o me voy a llevar palo por todas partes.
Y además el profesor hace mucho.
El profesor hace mucho, sí.
Este mes de agosto, disfruta con los mejores contenidos de Vaughan Radio. Vaughan Radio Madrid 100.4 FM. La magia de Disney en sus clases de inglés.
Disney English Vaughan es un curso de inglés para niños entre 4 y 9 años donde combinamos el método Vaughan con la magia de Disney. Sigue siendo el método Vaughan al 100%, es decir, corregimos todo, hacemos que repitan todo, machacamos los puntos gramaticales, trabajamos la agilidad verbal, pero todo con la magia de Disney y con material nuevo para deberes, pantallas interactivas.
Así tus peques encontrarán un entorno de ensueño que les hará ilusionarse como nunca con el inglés. Descubre el centro Disney English Vaughan más cercano a tu ciudad. Recuerda que estamos en Alicante, Barcelona, Bilbao, Valencia, Valladolid, Santander, Vigo, Zaragoza y Madrid. Conoce nuestros centros. Entra ahora en grupovaughan.com.
Me apunté al curso trimestral porque quería mejorar el inglés, lo que pasa es que no estaba muy convencido porque no tenía muy claro si iba a ser una clase pues aburrida y monótona que hemos tenido siempre pues en el instituto, que al final no te motiva nada, pero el primer día que nos metimos ahí y el profesor nos empezó a meter caña, pues vi que eso pues no iba a ser para nada monótono.
Cursos trimestrales de Vaughan 911335833 o grupovaughan.com. las mañanas son más productivas con Richar Vaughan.
You're listening to Richard Vaughan Live.
Hello, welcome back. All right, one more half hour, and then we're through for today. We're through. That's an American way of saying we're finished. The class will be over in 30 minutes' time. I'll be through. I'll be finished. I'll be done. Done. Estaré hecho. That means habré terminado. Yeah. In fact, if you go to the U.S., when the waiter or the waitress asks, ¿Han terminado? O sea, ¿puedo retirar los platos? The most common way is, are you done? So you can imagine a Spanish visitor and the waitress says, are you done? ¿Está usted hecho? I suppose that the Spaniard will figure out will understand what the waitress is saying. Are you done? But a very common, extremely common way that they say, at least 60% of the time is, can I get those things out of the way for you? Can I get those things out of the way for you? Can I get these plates out of the way for you? It's a long sentence, but that's what they say. Le puedo quitar en medio todos los platos y fuentes que están a la mesa. Can I get these things out of the way for you? All right. Can I get these things? Of course, if you don't understand English very well, and a waiter comes up to the table and says this, well, you said, excuse me? Yeah, can I get these things out of the way for you? Sorry. Then the waiter realizes that you don't understand English very well. Okay, next Monday the 12th, I'll be in Ancora at 7 p.m., 7 to 8:30 in the evening, so join me if you can. Please, I'd love to meet you. And we can chat at the beginning, at the end. Even if you arrive late, don't worry. Yeah. When people walk in, I say, you're late. And then I look at all the rest of the people, and I say, should we let him come in, or should we kick him out? Should we let her come in? For example, last Monday, Miss Sevilla arrived late. Yeah, there's one lady who lives in Madrid, but she has the typical acento sevillano, or a beautiful Seville accent. And she comes almost every time. Yeah. Her name is Mac Sand. She calls herself Mac Sand. And I say, why Mac Sand? Como un apellido escocés. MacDonald, Macduff, Macbeth, Mac Sand. And she said, because my name is Macarena. Say, Mac Arena. Anda. Mac Arena. Macarena. Mac Sand. Arena is sand. And so she calls herself Mac Sand. And her email address is Mac Sand. And she's from Seville. And they call her Miss Seville. And we have Miss Italy. We have a young lady who comes from, she lives in Madrid, but she's from Genoa. Es genovesa, de Genoa, in Liguria, in Italy. Very nice. Always smile. I always make fun of her. I always pull her leg. Yeah. And ask her the equivalents in Italian. Yes. And she has a daughter by the name of Vittoria, I remember. And she brought her daughter once to the program. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, she brought her daughter. And I said, what's your name? And she's only 9 years old, and she looks at me and says, Vittoria sin C con dos T's. Así de corrido. Vittoria sin C con dos T's. And I say, okay. So it's not Victoria. No, Vittoria. And with 2 T's in the middle, yes. Con doble T en medio. Vittoria. And then I told, because of her name, I told the story of the Secret of Santa Vittoria. El Secreto de Santa Vittoria, which is a movie and a book. It's a movie with Anthony Quinn that nobody knows. It's interesting about this movie. Very few people know about it. But it's a brilliant movie with Anthony Quinn, Anna Magnani, and other important actors. But Nobody knows about it. And you should see it. El Secreto de Santa Vittoria. The Secret of Santa Vittoria. I think it was made in 1969, I would say. The Secret of Santa Vittoria. Let's see when it was made. 1969. Okay. And the reason I remember, basically the years, because I remember how old I was when I saw it. I was 17, probably, when I saw that movie. It's the perfect kind of movie for Anthony Quinn. Yeah. Anthony Quinn. The Secret of Santa Vittoria. And his role in the movie is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The Secret of Santa Vittoria. Interesting movie. Very, very interesting movie. I would recommend you try to get your hands on this movie. Anthony Quinn. Vernalisi. Anna Magnani or Magnani. Yeah. Robert Crichton. There's a lot of good actors. The Secret of Santa Vittoria. All right. Did it receive any awards? Awards and nominations. The film was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for film editing and the best music, the score. All right. It won the Golden Globe Award for the best motion picture comedy. But this is interesting. It's not necessarily a comedy because there are a lot of serious moments in this movie, very serious moments. So you can call it a comedy, but it's a tragicomedy. But it's not tragic. It has a good ending. All right, a very good ending, and so I recommend you see it. Anthony Quinn. Anthony Quinn was half Irish and half Mexican. His mother was Mexican and his father was Irish. Yeah. It's an interesting mix. Anthony Quinn was born Antonio Rodolfo Quinn Oaxaca. It's an Indian name from Mexico. Antonio Rodolfo Quinn Oaxaca, on April 21st, 1915, in Chihuahua, Mexico, during the Mexican Revolution. All right, his mother was Manuela Oaxaca, and his father was Francisco Quinn, Frank Quinn. All right, now Francisco Quinn, escrito Quinn, was born in Mexico to an Irish immigrant father from County Cork, like Fitz, he's from Cork, and a Mexican mother. So, Anthony Quinn was 3/4 Mexican and 1/4 Irish. Okay. 3/4 Mexican, 1/4 Irish. Frank Quinn, the father, rode with Mexican revolutionary Pancho Villa, and then later moved to the East Los Angeles neighborhood, the city of Terrace, and became an assistant cameraman at a movie studio. Okay. In Anthony Quinn's autobiography, The Original Sin, a self-portrait by Anthony Quinn, he denied being the son of an Irish adventurer and attributed that tale to Hollywood publicists. Okay. Nevertheless, I've read that book. I read the book, The Original Sin. Good book, by the way. I recommend it. There's so many books I can recommend. I can recommend about 1,000 different books. But you learn something from everything. Anthony Quinn's life. Early life, especially. And growing up in Los Angeles. But it is true that Anthony Quinn's father was considered a revolutionary and a romantic and Irish adventurer, but it wasn't true. He was half Irish, half Mexican. He was born and brought up in Mexico, the father. Anthony Quinn. He became a very popular actor very, very soon, very early on. Zorba the Greek, he won an Academy Award for that. But The Secret of Santa Vittoria, I do recommend it. Okay, let's go on. Is your index finger bleeding? Well, I have two index fingers. I have an index finger on my left hand, and I have an index finger on my right hand. I'm looking at both. I'm looking at both right now, and neither one of them is bleeding. Neither one of them, ni el uno ni el otro. Del índice, my index finger. Neither one of them sangra, está sangrando. Neither one of them is bleeding, so I'm okay. And my middle fingers, let's see, neither one of them are bleeding. My third fingers, neither one of them is bleeding. And my pinkies, my little fingers, neither one of them is bleeding either. And my thumbs, neither one of them is bleeding either. And how are the nails? My nails are okay. I usually keep my nails in fairly good shape, in fairly good condition. All right. Would you stand out if you had an IQ of 180? Yes, I would. I would really stand out if I had an IQ of 180. I don't think there are more than 10 people on this planet maybe with an IQ of 180. I don't know what my IQ is. I really don't know. I remember taking a test, an intelligence test, in 1969 or 1970 in high school. And I got a 133. But I don't know if that was an intelligence quotient or not. I don't think so. But that was and my girlfriend, Patty, got a 92. And so I don't think it was an IQ test because Patty is very intelligent. More than me. And so I don't think that test was indicative of our intelligence. Okay. Were the French involved in the Second World War? Yes, they were. Yes. Were the French involved in the First World War? Yes, they were. Were the French involved in the War of the Spanish Succession? Yes, they were. And they put a new king on the throne. The Bourbon line began. Were the French involved? Were the French involved in the Spanish-American War? No, they weren't, as far as I know. No, they weren't. The Spanish-American War is the Guerra de Cuba. Were the French involved in the American Revolutionary War? Yes, they were. The French and the Spanish were involved in the Revolutionary War, which is the War of Independence between the United States and Great Britain. The French were quite important in helping the young colonists gain independence from Great Britain and to establish the United States of America. Yes. The French were involved. Were the French involved in the Vietnam War? Yes. It depends on your definition of the Vietnam War. La Guerra de Vietnam? Yes, because the Vietnam War lasted 30 years. It started in 1945, and it ended in 1975. It started with the withdrawal of the Japanese troops after the Japanese surrender in August 1945. And the French wanted to reoccupy Indochina. Indochina means Southeast Asia. The word Indochina includes Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, maybe Malaysia and Burma, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the exact meaning of it. Well, the exact implication of Indochina. Indochina is a geographical term originating in the early 19th century and referring to the continental portion of the region now known as Southeast Asia. The name refers to the lands historically within the cultural influence of India and China. All right, and it includes Myanmar, which is Burma, Birmania, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and at times they include the Malaysian Peninsula, Malaysia and Singapore. All right. The term was later adopted as the name of the colony French Indochina, which included Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. All right. Indochina. and French Indochina. And Ho Chi Minh was the leader after the withdrawal of the Japanese, and the Vietnam War started. And so the first 15 years, or 60, well, the first 10 years basically were between the French and the Vietnamese. And then after that, Vietnam was separated into North Vietnam and South Vietnam. And then the Americans got involved. And it didn't end until many years later in 1974. Terrible place. If you look at Vietnam, it's a very, very long, it's like Chile. Come on, like Chile. You know, to travel from Hanoi in the north to Saigon in the south is quite a long trip. Chile is the thinnest and longest country in the world, but Vietnam could be number 2. You know, it could be. Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. Let's go to Saigon, which is La Cochinchina. It's interesting, in Spanish you say, voy a ir hasta la Conchinchina. That's incorrect. It's incorrect. It's not Conchinchina. The name was Cochinchina. No hay una N ahí en medio. Cochinchina. But that area of the Cochinchina is where Saigon is. It's in the Mekong Delta, the delta of the Mekong River in Southeast Asia. Now, to drive from Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon to Hanoi, I think it's a pretty long drive. It's a pretty long drive. Let's see how long it would take. It would take in Vietnam, it's 32 hours. If you want to drive from Saigon to Hanoi, you're talking of 32 hours. Now, if you want to drive from Ca Mau, which is in the southern tip of Vietnam, Ca Mau, and you want to drive to the northern tip of Vietnam, let's find the northern tip of Vietnam, up on the Chinese border. You want to go to Cao Bang, and we'll find out how far it takes. Cao Bang, Caobang, Cao Bang, Vietnam, and we'll go by car. How long will it take? It will take 44 hours. So if you want to drive from the tip of Vietnam in the south to the tip of Vietnam in the north along the border with China, you need to spend 44 hours in your car. You can cut across, you can save time if you cut across Cambodia and Laos. But if you stay in Vietnam, you need 44 hours. That's how long Vietnam is. 2,100 kilometers. It's a long drive. It's a very long drive. Okay? And so you can imagine the type of people in North Vietnam compared to the type of people in South Vietnam. They're probably very, very different. Of course, the people in Cantabria or Asturias or the Basque Country are quite different from the people in Malaga or Almeria or Granada or Jaén. And so you can imagine in Vietnam a 2,000 kilometer difference. In Spain, it's only about 700 or 800 kilometers. But then if you go from Miami Beach, or from Miami, Florida, and you go to Seattle, Washington, there's a nice long trip as well. Yeah. It's 48 hours. 48 hours. Yeah. 48 hours. It's about 5,500 kilometers. And it's a long way. It's a very, very long way. But then if you want to go from the north of Maine, you want to go from a town in the north of Maine, Caribou, Maine? You want to go from Caribou, Maine, and you want to go to San Francisco, California. That's a long way. San Francisco, California. It will take you forever. 50 hours to drive. It's a long drive. 52 hours if you want to pass through New York City. 50 hours. And the fastest way is going through part of Canada, north of the Great Lakes, of the two, of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Takes a long time. And if you walk, I wonder how long it would take if you walk. Probably it would not tell us. It would take you 1,055 hours to walk from Caribou, from Maine to San Francisco, California. 155 hours. 1,055 hours. Which, if you walk 10 hours a day, 1055 divided by 10 hours a day, you need 105 days to cross, walking 10 hours a day. If you walk 8 hours a day, it would take you much more. If you walk 8 hours a day, it would take you 131 days. You can try it. Why not? That would be a good way to spend a quarter of a year. I'm going to walk across the United States on foot. Of course, it would take you 1 year because you would stop. You wouldn't walk 8 hours a day. And second, you would stop and take it easy on every Sunday. You would not walk anywhere. And you'd probably meet people along the way, have a party in Indiana, spend some time, meet a girl in Illinois, and spend some time there. It'd probably take you a whole year. Said, what are you doing? Where are you going? I'm walking. I'm walking to San Francisco. San Francisco? Well, get in. I'll take you part of the way. I need to go down to the local grocery store. I can take you 1 mile out of the 4,000 miles that you need to go. All right. Interesting. To walk. Yes, how long would it take, for example, to walk from Madrid to, for example, Copenhagen? How long would it take to do that? To walk? I don't know. Have you ever tried it? It might be something interesting to do. Walking. It would take 475 hours. It's a lot of hours. 475 hours. And if you walk 8 hours a day, it'll take you 60 days. If you want to walk from Madrid to Copenhagen, 60 days. If you want to drive from Madrid to Copenhagen, which I recommend, it would take 25 hours. But of course, probably more, because you'll stop along the way and spend a day in Amsterdam, or you'll probably go on the least. You won't go on a straight line, because if you want to drive the fastest route, you don't drive through Amsterdam. You go through Paris, yes, and Brussels as well. But you don't go through, you go through very near Cologne, you go through Hamburg, and up to Copenhagen. All right. Interesting. And using bridges from Lübeck, you don't need to go up into Denmark. The mainland of Denmark you need to cross. Copenhagen is closer to Sweden than it is really to the mainland of Denmark. Malmö is on the other side. Malmö. Copenhagen and Malmö. And then up the coast, you reach Gothenburg. Interesting country. I've never been to Sweden. Have you ever been to Sweden? I've never been to Norway nor to Denmark. I've never been to a Scandinavian country. I've been to Finland. But Finland is not really a Scandinavian country. It's not part of the Scandinavian peninsula, and the language they speak is a Baltic language. It's not a Scandinavian language. So the people in Sweden, Swedish people can understand Norwegian people if they speak slowly, and they can understand Danish people if they speak slowly, but they can't understand Finnish people. Although there's an island, an important island equidistant between Finland and Sweden, in which the people on that island speak both languages, Finnish and Swedish. I remember one man, a Finnish man, who was the country manager here in Spain for Ericsson, the telecommunications firm, and it was and he spoke perfect Swedish because he grew up on that island. I don't know the name of the island. But in any case, we only have 1 minute left. Okay. Well, listen, today's Friday. Weekend, drive carefully. And study English if you can. Think about joining me this coming Monday on Ancora, the 12th of March at 7 p.m. Think about it, because I think you'll enjoy it if you've never done it. If you've been tempted to go, but you find excuses every time, well, come. And you can listen for a while, have a drink, and enjoy it. The following Saturday, in Ancora as well, we do the seminar in entrepreneurism and leadership. And you can find information there on grupovaughan.com/seminario, grupovaughan.com/seminario. And there you can get information. If you're interested, you can sign up. Take care.
You are listening to Everyday. Listen to Vaughan Radio. You're listening to Vaughan Radio.
Tune in every day.
Vaughan Radio.
Yo hice el MIP, el máster en inglés profesional. Es un programa de 5 días a la semana, de lunes a viernes, 5 horas por la mañana de clases.
Yo hice el programa WIMEP, que es el Weekend Executive Master, que es la versión de fin de semana, ya que durante la semana no podía hacer la versión de lunes a jueves por el horario laboral, entonces decidí hacer la versión de fin de semana para que me permitiese poder estudiar y asistir a clase.
Yo en mi caso me lancé a hacer el máster porque en mi trabajo necesitaba hacer presentaciones en inglés, necesitaba hablar mucho en inglés, incluso por teléfono, entonces fue la razón principal por la que me lancé a hacerlo, para tener una fluidez alta en el idioma y además hacerlo con seguridad.
Tengo grandes problemas a la hora de hablar, me puedo comunicar perfectamente, pero no hablo de una manera correcta. Y también cosas muy importantes como el poder hablar en público sin tener que tener ese miedo o ese vacío a la hora de decir ¿qué hago ahora o qué digo? Con el máster he solucionado ese tipo de problemas, la verdad.
Yo lo que más destacaría del máster serían los profesores. Ellos son unos grandes profesionales, te motivan muchísimo con el inglés. Por supuesto, los materiales exclusivos que tenemos en el programa.
No estás como en una clase típica cogiendo apuntes, escribiendo, lo trabajas hablando. Y eso es muy complicado, porque coger una frase y de repente tener que hacerla en interrogativa, en negativa, cuando no lo tienes delante, ayuda a que la agilidad verbal y tu capacidad también con el idioma sea cada vez mayor, porque es un reto.
Una de las partes que más me gustó del programa fueron las presentaciones a las que me tenía que enfrentar prácticamente cada semana. Otra de las cosas que más me gustó del máster fueron los 2 Downtown a los que asistí, porque esas experiencias sean siempre inolvidables y es una manera de darle un empujón importante al inglés.
Los másters en inglés profesional de Vaughan harán que se dispare tu carrera profesional. Llama e infórmate sin compromiso. No te arrepentirás. 91-133-5833. 91-133-5833.
Un máster o un MBA apenas impresiona a un entrevistador. Son muchos ya los que tienen estudios de posgrado. Sin embargo, siguen siendo pocos los que pueden demostrar un ágil y potente dominio del inglés. Es aquí donde uno se diferencia. Es aquí donde uno destaca de verdad. Céntrate en el inglés. Quítalo de en medio y empieza a cotizar alto en el mercado laboral.
Los másters en inglés profesional de Vaughan harán que se dispare tu carrera profesional. Llama e infórmate sin compromiso. No te arrepentirás. 91-133-5833. 91-133-5833.
You're listening to Vaughan Radio.
Me apunté al curso trimestral porque quería mejorar el inglés, lo que pasa es que no estaba muy convencido porque no tenía muy claro si iba a ser una clase pues aburrida y monótona que hemos tenido siempre pues en el instituto, que al final no te motiva nada, pero el primer día que nos metimos ahí y el profesor nos empezó a meter caña, pues vi que eso pues no iba a ser para nada monótono.
Cursos trimestrales de Vaughan. 91-133-5833 o grupovaughan.com.
You're listening to Vaughan Radio.